day closer to Gamecock football. Oh, the social media team was on fire yesterday. You guys check out those videos Gamecock football put out. Justin King and company. If that doesn't get you going, I don't know what does. Hope your Tuesday's off to a good start. Glad you're part of the program this morning. Tim Hill, Bill Gunter, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, all with you. I think today's going to be the day we're going to make some picks. Patrick's got the pen ready. He's got games added because we will not have guys on this program. Bill looks like he is charged up and ready to go. He's got a gleam in his eye when he makes picks during football season. Am I not seeing that correctly, Bill?
No, I'm laughing. This little knee injury and ankle injury that I suffered back at the beach 2 weeks ago has limited my movement. And so I think I kind of talked about it yesterday. I never, over the weekend on Saturday, never left the couch. I actually saw a poll question yesterday that was the definition of kind of what we were discussing with Nebraska and Illinois. Was it a great game or was it the only game? Was the question yesterday, but I never left the couch. Sunday, I didn't even make it out of the bed. Never left the bed, and then yesterday I basically did the show and was on the couch the majority of the day. So yes, I'm kind of actually I don't do a good job of sitting. I actually said that at the golf tournament. It's fun. Yeah, I hear you, Jen. I said that at the golf tournament to some guys, and they started laughing like, "Yeah, we watched the live stream. We can tell you're not a person who sits well." Like that. So, yeah, if you think I don't sit well originally, if you make me like sit for 3 straight days as I've done to try and get this healed up, it gets even worse. So yeah, I'm definitely raring to go right now.
All right, we can expect extra ADD from Bill today.
Yeah, you're probably a day away. I'm still limited a tad, so I would definitely say on Thursday and Friday that I may be just wandering the house doing the show.
That makes sense. You've already put it out there too on Thursday night. Going to do a little live stream, watching some football, little bonus. 107.5 The Game live stream this week. Patrick, you were already starting this morning saying the extra half game's going to make it that much more difficult. Going to make things a little bit iffy. Sounds SEC over under total win standpoint.
No, I think it's going to make it easier for some of these because it's if they're over under is a round number and it's already on the high end of what you think they might be, it just makes it easier to pick an under if we round up the half game. So just looking at the ones that I wrote down, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 unders. I'm picking 9 unders.
Ooh, wow. 9 out of 14.
9 out of 14 unders, yeah.
Can that even happen? Or don't you get to a
yeah, because they just won't do well out of conference.
Non-conference games. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most interesting pick, do you feel like, on the entire conference sheet from an over-under total win standpoint for the season? 14 SEC teams. Is there one that hops out at you and makes you say this is the most interesting pick?
I would say there's one. Maybe if I had to pick one on each side, I would say it's the teams that we feel like are kind of up and coming, but they still have a big number or a relatively big number. And I would say that Ole Miss is getting a lot of buzz. Matt Corral's a Heisman candidate. Everyone is aboard the Lane train over there, but their number's 7.5 and they play in the SEC West. So do you realistically think that they can still be an 8-win team in that conference? I don't know. Same with Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz is kind of the belle of the ball in the SEC, it feels like right now, especially after media days and doing really well and a very, very difficult circumstance to be a first-year head coach last year. But again, Missouri, we're going with 7.5, and can they be an 8-win team in year 2? Like that is also a big jump to make. Those I think are the toughest ones.
Interesting. Okay, Bill, you agree? Because I think both of those programs are exactly what Patrick just told us. They're in interesting spots. You can make the case for sure that they're up and coming and on their way. Especially offensively, I think it's easy to get kind of sucked into that mindset. But then back to reality. All right, tell me the math. How does that math work out? And then knowing last year, we thought the coaches did a good job and they had good seasons. And I think the numbers were 5-5 for both of those teams, right? So let's get too far ahead of ourselves.
But they arguably have the two best. I mean, you can make the case those are the two best returning quarterbacks. probably put JT Daniels ahead of Connor Bazelak, but there's a lot of people that are not very high on him either.
They're not very high on Bazelak or Daniels.
On JT Daniels.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So where are you at with Missouri and Ole Miss this morning?
I mean, we expect Ole Miss's offense to just be second to none, maybe the best in the SEC. But defensively, have they made any strides in learning how to stop anything or anybody? And if you can't stop anybody or anything in the SEC West, that's going to be difficult, probably with some of the offenses you see over there with LSU, Texas A&M, and Alabama in particular. But after that, I'm trying to pull up their schedule real quick. Who's their crossover games? Who are they getting? Kentucky?
For Ole Miss?
Yes.
I'll pull that up as well.
Tennessee. Well, that's so we said 8. I think you're right, though. You're saying 8.5?
7.5.
Okay. You want me to give my pick now?
Sounds like Bill's all in on Ole Miss right now.
I mean, we got 3 hours. We can do them like sporadically. We don't have to do it all in one segment and run through the list. If you want to just give your pick, I think that's.
I like the over. I like an 8-4.
Let's go through it one at a time here. Very
as soon as I get to the schedule here.
Right, they start against Louisville at home on it's going to be Monday night. It's going to be a Labor Day matchup.
Yeah, it's our Labor Day matchup here.
That should be fun. 8:00 ESPN. You guys going with an Ole Miss win there, I would imagine.
I am.
Yes, I've got
everybody. I agree. Then it looks like it's Austin P after that, and Tulane. So should start 3-0. Should go into Tuscaloosa on October 2nd, 3-0, and then 3-1. He scored almost 50 points or something.
48 last year. Yep.
I don't think anybody is thinking that they're going to pull the upset there. It would be awesome. I'll be pulling for them. Don't get me wrong. Then it's home against Arkansas, which we would think would be 4-1, right? All with.
Yep.
I'm leaning that. That's 5-1.
At Tennessee's 5-1, home against LSU.
A lot of buzz when LSU comes to Oxford to play 5-1 Ole Miss.
Right. Well, October 23rd on, that is really, well, let's see how many games in a row. It's 4 games in a row that will make or break Ole Miss this season.
Yep.
LSU at home, at Auburn, home against Liberty in November, which is maybe the weirdest non-conference game an SEC team has ever played.
Hugh Freeze Bowl.
Right. Hugh Freeze Bowl with an NFL quarterback coming into town, a transfer from Auburn and Malik Willis. That's going to be fascinating.
With Liberty as being a top 25 team this preseason, then it's a home game against Texas A&M after that. They win 2 of those 4. They cruise past this 7.5 over-under because they finish Vandy at home at Mississippi State.
I mean, you look at that schedule for playing in the West, the fact that they get LSU at home and they get Texas A&M at home. Now, I mean, it's conceivable that they're not favored in 3 of these games total and all 12. You guys on board with that? Conceivable.
Alabama, LSU, A&M. For sure. I'd say at Auburn. Yeah, conceivable.
We don't know. We have no clue what Auburn is going to be. I'm not even sure. You can't say Auburn might not I guess because of national recognition, I would say that Auburn might be the biggest mystery in the SEC. What does Mike Bobo do with Bo Nix? How far can that team come in one year? What is Brian Harsin? But give me. I'm with you. I'm taking the over 7.5 on Mississippi. I'm buying in this year.
I am as well. Getting both the Tennessee teams is a very good draw for them.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to go over as well. I don't think I could definitely see 8-4, 9-3 max, but I don't see much more than 6-6. Absolute worst would be the worst season for Lane Kiffin. And so I'm going to go over 7.5. But you're right. That does kind of pop out on the west side. Over on the east side, let's go for Missouri, a similar type deal this morning as we go over under season totals for SEC teams. I know, Bill, you're a fan. Eli Drinkwitz. I'm kind of a fan and didn't expect to be because he seems to be like the polar opposite of Gary Odom and kind of the persona of bringing the lunch pail and we're going to be defensive minded and vanilla and not have much of a personality and the whole thing. Drinkwitz is not necessarily that guy, and kind of stood out in SEC media days for being that guy. My favorite line is, "I'm new money." That's what I liked about him. Has a little bit of, yeah, I'm going to say this, and guys, this is not the end of the world. This is football we're talking about here, and I like the attitude, and I think it might be the one that Missouri needs to stand out in the SEC, which even though they've had success, they haven't necessarily stood out and been able to sustain it. And obviously, that's why Eli Drinkwitz ended up getting the job from App State. So with all that being said, Bill, where are you with Missouri heading into 2021?
I'm with you. I've become a big Eli Drinkowitz fan. I'm drinking the Witz Kool-Aid, I guess you could say. No takers. All right. Yeah, again, watching him last night, I was kind of just rewatching some of Marty and McGee and their SEC East coaches there that they did from SEC Media Day, but listening to Drinkwitz, and I don't think he stays at Missouri long. I think he's a guy that somebody somewhere is going to see. I'm interested to see if he sees that as his career path. Like if Virginia Tech opens after this year in the ACC, because Drinkwitz is a Southern. I'm pretty sure he's a Southern guy. He's from North Carolina. I think he likes it better on this side. Let's see, he's actually from Norman, Oklahoma. But I think he's a guy that ends up getting a big time job. I'm not sure if Virginia Tech's a step up, but he also seems smart enough to know that he's got an easier path in the ACC than he does. He's coached at North Carolina State. I don't know how long he stays there at Missouri. Like I'll give you an example. You guys be shocked if in 3 years Brian Harsin has had 3 straight 7-5 seasons and gets fired at Auburn. The way those people react about their coaches. And I could see if Eli Drinkwitz is doing good, Auburn makes a play for him. So I think it's going to
would depend, though, how good he's doing and how bad Auburn's doing.
Right.
Like it truly might not be worth his while. I mean, Auburn can throw an extra $1 million on top of his current salary, which I don't know what it is. I assume it's what, 3 or something like that.
Probably in that area. Yeah,
Is it 4?
But anyway, I think I'm interested to see him this year as he goes through. He had the loss last year at the end of the season to Mississippi State that took a little bit of the shine off of the season. Did have the upset over LSU, but you go through their schedule, Central Michigan, and then it's a big one. It's for me, it's for third place in the SEC East. He's at Kentucky in week 2.
Right.
He versus Mark Stoops. Then you got Southeast Missouri State. Boston College is sneaky good. That's one that I had Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider on back when I was filling in for Heath. And I think their over-under is around 7. I think it's 7 or 7.5. And Brian Edwards with Vegas Insider liked the over on Boston College. He really liked Boston College to win some games this season. So that's another one that's a little bit tough. Tennessee, I like him to win. So that would give him at least 3. North Texas, 4. Texas A&M, then at Vanderbilt, that's 5. Georgia, then South Carolina, that's 6. Florida, and then at Arkansas. I'll give him the at Arkansas game. That would give him 7 victories is what I can see. What number are we playing with? 7.5?
7.5.
Yeah, that number was right at 7, which is when I was looking at the schedule and saying, I bet they're a 7-win team. But yeah, we bumped it up a half. So
I feel like he'll get one of Central Michigan, Southeast Missouri State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. I've got him beating South Carolina, and I've got him beating Arkansas. Did I just give myself 6 here?
So the way I was looking at it is probably very similar, Bill. Kentucky and Missouri were right at the 7 number. And I feel like that game, week 2, is pretty much going to decide who hits the over, who hits the under. And I think Missouri is going to win that game. So I did pick Missouri on the over.
I think I'm going to go with you. I think I'm going to take the over of 7.5. I'm going to put also Missouri. I just think Missouri gets one of Kentucky, Boston College. And it wouldn't shock me to see him pull the Florida upset as well. Florida in late November. I don't know. We'd have to go back. Obviously, this is going to be a weird sentence to say, but there's not a lot of SEC schools that have ultra cold Tim, you've been out to Missouri. Would you say, not that you went in the winter, but would you guys say that Missouri probably in November is the coldest SEC venue? Is that fair? I know I've been to a couple. I know that some South Carolina fans will argue, and I've been in Williams-Brice for two in particular. It was a Florida game in the '90s, an Arkansas game in the 2000s with Spurrier that was really cold. But is it fair to say that Columbia, Missouri is probably the coldest venue in the SEC in November?
I would
I think
assume
you got
so.
to put. I think you got to put Knoxville up there.
Kentucky was really cold a couple of years ago as
Kentucky
well.
can get cold.
Okay.
I don't think any of them are particularly cold.
Okay, all right. I was just going to say Florida going out there doesn't, if it's a night game, it's cold. But it wouldn't shock me to see Missouri pull the upset on Florida on November 20th. Just depending on the
BC game is in Boston College or it's a neutral site.
Yep,
it is
at Boston College.
Okay. I know they have some buzz mostly because they have a quarterback, Phil Jerkovich, the Notre Dame transfer. I'm pretty sure people think might be an NFL guy, which usually is all it takes to put some buzz behind a program. And they did almost beat Clemson last year, right?
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to go with the over here of Missouri. I got to be careful because I feel like I'm giving out too many overs. We've done two, and at some point you have to go back the other way. But
I'm going to go against you guys here. I'm going to go the under on Missouri, and I think that'll probably put me over on Kentucky. But I agree that second game of the season is just massive because it's at Kentucky, and because I'm going to take Stoops over Drinkwitz in this one. I might regret that. Might come to regret that one for sure. I know the Kentucky conversation, Bill. You always start it with, all right, what's Mark Stoops' overall record again? 500 basically at this point, and we're saying what a great coach he is and the whole thing. I know you can make the case the other way for sure. I mean, you can also make the case here that it's 6-0 for Missouri pretty easily. Central Michigan, Kentucky, South Missouri, Boston College, Tennessee, and North Texas. Those are the first 6 games. Mm-hmm. Going 6-0 is not out of the realm of possibility at all before Texas A&M comes to town October 16th for Missouri. So those are a couple examples right there of over-unders. Patrick, you have the official record in front of you. That is
yes, I have
for you guys on Ole Miss and Missouri. I'm going over for Ole Miss and under for Mizzou. Chris says, I've lived in Missouri. It can get cold. Was out of school for a week because of snow one year. Trey, Summer, Anthony, Carlton, David, Chris, LaVar, DC, all up with us on the live stream this morning. Facebook, YouTube Live, also streaming video on Twitter, sponsored by Buford Lending. We appreciate however you're joining us and would love to hear from you. If you'd like to hit us with more of the traditional means, you can call us at 803-404-6100 or text us at that same number. That's 404-6100. Just getting started here. Plenty more over-unders to come, and that high school football story, Bishop Sycamore just got even more interesting yesterday. It's like if you were a sports reporter on a Monday morning and you didn't have a story already lined up, you were going to do a story on Bishop Sycamore yesterday, and it was going to turn out interesting. We'll see if the show can turn out interesting. It's the early game on 107.5 again.
Morning.
Hey, it's Summer, Anthony.
Good morning.
Just there. Craig, did I miss you at the golf tournament, or did you just not show up? Bill, did you catch Craig at the golf tournament?
Only Craig was there.
Disappointing. Just disappointing.
I don't think Craig was there.
Good day.
Where do we stand? Where does Columbia stand with this storm? Because it's a huge storm. Like, I think it's getting a little bit windy out there.
You're not talking about Ida, are you?
Yeah.
They're saying that tonight and then tomorrow there could be some storms coming in from it. Marginal chance for severe storms.
Trey, weak. Then you got to change your profile picture there, Craig. You haven't played golf in 2 months in August.
Wow.
The Facebook profile picture of the beautiful follow through. Got to change that thing.
Although the lake, the lake does tend to take away from golf time. I know that.
A shocking pick from Jim, picking Clemson to beat Georgia.
31-21. I feel like that's a lot more points. I'm kind of leaning the under on that.
Well,
Wasn't the over under 52?
I was thinking it was right on the number.
Ooh. Anthony on the text line says he went to basic training in Missouri and it did not get above freezing for 40 days in a row. But yes,
Yep.
Missouri apparently.
I did my college football.
That Connor
playoff
Shaw
yesterday.
game was cool. What's that, Patrick?
So we did. I don't think Bill gave his playoff, but I gave my college football playoff yesterday. Exactly how it's going to break down.
No Alabama, correct? That's what you were thinking?
Yeah.
Clemson, Georgia. What else did you have? Did you have Oklahoma in there?
Yeah.
And
It's the other obvious one.
Ohio State.
Yeah. And all three of them going undefeated. 3 going undefeated and then 1.
What you want to do here? You want to do Kentucky and another Western team?
Sounds good.
Do we want to just do like Mississippi State or someone bad and then build up to the better teams, or Arkansas?
It's up to you. I just flipped the page. I got Auburn. Doesn't matter. They're all in order.
Kentucky and Auburn are also the same number. This would be.
I mean, if you want to be crazy, we could do Kentucky and Arkansas.
Sounds good to me.
How many total segments do we have? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Did you say segment?
What?
You say segments on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Fort Lost in the Woods. That's pretty good.
It does not sound like a fun place to be.
Yeah, Missouri was one. It's that trip. Like, I'm glad I've gone. I've had a good time, but it's one of those places where I'm not sad to leave at all. Like, all right, good weekend. See you guys in 2 years. That's about right.
Like if you live in Missouri or Kansas or something like that, like a trip to the beach is a really big deal, right?
Right.
They're
It's a big
lake
deal.
people, though.
From Chicago, it's a big deal. I mean, granted, you got the beach on the lake, but that's to me different than.
Yeah, but actually going to like the beach is a like
They don't do it. Missouri, they just go to the Ozarks, right? Ozarks
Yeah, I
are
think
sweet. I think I'm going to that game this year. My sister called me once. I think she lives in Greenville, and her boyfriend is, both of his parents are Missouri alumnus.
Alumni.
Alumni.
Plural.
I'm an alumnus.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you're singular.
Alumna.
Alumna. I hate all of that. But yeah, I think I'm going to go this year.
I worked, I had a market in Kansas when I worked for Children's Miracle Network. And literally part of our fundraising efforts were helping people like with gas and stuff, because stuff is so spread out, and not a lot of big towns and things like that, just a lot of space. So you literally were helping people with transportation costs. It's kind of how that section of the country is, in my opinion.
That'll be stressful, having a low tank, the gas lights on, and the nearest gas station is a while away.
No.
It's been stressful. I've been there.
Yeah, sadly, me too.
Even just driving on the highway, like back to Maryland, my gas light turned on, and I was like, I have no idea where the next exit is, and it was stressing me out. And I still had 20 miles to kill.
Well, you guys are up.
The halftime show today between 1 and 4, your chance to win a pack of 4 tickets to the Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway Sunday, September 6th. DarlingtonRaceway.com is the place to go if you'd like to buy those tickets for camping or premium parking. Tickets start at $50 for adults, $10 for kids for that Truck Series playoff doubleheader on Sunday. And then Southern 500, you get 2 races for the price of 1. The Xfinity tickets for Saturday, just $35. Kids are free in select sections. Weekend camping still available. Starts at $80. That's DarlingtonRaceway.com. And again, this afternoon halftime show can give away a 4-pack of tickets to the Southern 500. We are picking over-unders on SEC football, just a few days away from the season kicking off in full, and looking forward to it for sure. So we've started with Ole Miss on the West. We'll do 2 each. We'll do, or 1 each, I should say. We'll do an East and a West team as we roll on this morning. So I think we started with 2 of the more interesting ones. We were all in agreement over 7.5 for Ole Miss. And then you guys went over 7.5 for Missouri. I'm going under on that one. I don't know if I'm feeling good about that, though. But those are maybe the 2 most interesting numbers out there. Another interesting number, that Missouri number really does hinge on, in my mind anyway, the Kentucky game, week number 2 in Lexington, Kentucky. That's why I went under, because the game's in Kentucky. So I'm thinking I'm going to go over here for Kentucky. Is it number 7 as well, Patrick? What do you got? Kentucky's over under for the season.
Yeah, they were both at 7. So when we round it up, we'll be picking at 7.5.
Okay, so let's go through Kentucky game for game. They're playing one of the worst teams in Division I football to start their season in Louisiana Monroe. Then they get Missouri at home. Tennessee Chattanooga is 3rd. At South Carolina is their 4th game of the season. Then they stretch that. I don't know if anybody in college football would fare very well in this stretch. Florida at home, LSU at home, at Georgia. So, I mean, we're talking about any kind of slip up there, and Mark Stoops and company could be, 3-4 very easily, 2-5 even. You lose to Missouri and South Carolina. Then you pile on Florida, LSU, and Georgia on top of that. They could be sitting 2-5, but then they could very easily make a run at the end of the season, which is why I'm going over that 7. I'm thinking they're going to be either Missouri or South Carolina, and at least be 3-4 at that point, and then run the table basically. At Mississippi State, home against Tennessee, at Vandy, New Mexico State, and then at Louisville. Where are you guys on Kentucky, Bill?
I kind of want to take the over, but I'm starting to feel like I'm taking too many overs through this thing. 7.5. The way I look at it is Louisiana Monroe, UT Chattanooga, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, New Mexico, and I'm going to give them the game at Louisville. They usually play better late in the season. Is 7. That doesn't count the winnable game against South Carolina or the winnable game at against Missouri. They host Missouri. They go on the road to South Carolina. That makes me that's 9 games that I think is possible to win. It means they could have 1 slip up. And really, when I look at 1 slip up, the trip to Mississippi State. Here's the other thing. I feel like I'm not giving Mississippi State enough credit. It might be the one team that we talk about that's on some of these teams' schedule. I believe they were on Missouri's schedule. If I go back here and look correctly, no, they were on Mississippi's schedule at the Egg Bowl at the end of the season. And we'll get to Mississippi State here later in the show. That's one of those teams you look at and you go, okay, how much do they change year over year with Mike Leach as head coach? I'm going to take the under on this. I like Kentucky. Wandale Robinson comes in as a wide receiver. He transferred out of Nebraska. He saw a sinking ship. He got off of it. Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback. He enrolled over the summer from Penn State, and was an easy job for him to take the job from Joey Gatewood. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Liam, I believe Cohen is his name, coming in. He's a Sean McVay protege, but I don't know if that works in Kentucky. I feel like there's a lot of moving parts with that offense, and I'll go under on 7.5 in Kentucky because of that Mississippi State game, and because I don't know if they can. The game's in Starkville. I don't know if they can keep up with scoring. Let me see if they play. They play Mississippi State? They did last year. Well, yeah, they beat Mississippi State last year in Lexington, 24-2. I think that's when we realized the Mike Leach experience wasn't working. But I'll go with I'll go with the under on this. I feel like this is an area I got to go with the under.
Yeah, so my thought process was fairly similar. I went through every game just in my gut picks, winners and losers, and I got to 8. But within those winners and losers are 3 road games at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, at Louisville. They just need to lose one of those 3 in order for the under to hit. And while I think independently at sitting here right now, I think they would probably win all those games. I think they'll be favored in all those games. I just think they're bound to lose one of them. When your whole identity is just going to be running the football, I haven't seen Will Levis throw. I don't know what kind of arm he's got, but I know he's a good athlete. Something will go wrong, a costly fumble in a bad spot on the field, like something like that, especially when you're on the road. I'm going to take the under because I think they will lose one of those 3. Those are their 3 swing games in my mind. And I've already given Missouri the win in that game, so I'm just banking on that being the outcome. So I'm going to say under as well.
To do that and then to completely discount Florida and LSU at home, I don't think that spread's going to be huge, either one, especially the LSU game. I think LSU is getting more credit than they deserve after last year. So that is the reason. And Bill, you talked about both of you guys talked about the offensive side of the ball. I think you're missing the boat here. 24-2 against Mississippi State and Mike Leach. Mark Stoops is known for his defense. That has been consistent in his time at Kentucky. The fact that he could win games without a guy who could throw the ball really effectively the last couple of years in touchdown Terry, I feel they got to upgrade lightly with the Penn State transfer and Levis, their quarterback. So I'm going to put my confidence in Mark Stoops as opposed to Eli Drinkwitz going into this season. So I'm going to go Kentucky on the over here. You guys are both going the Kentucky and under. Is that correct? Your first under pick?
Yeah, and the defense, there's just not a – defense always has been Mark Stoops' thing. That they just don't have a lot of known entities right now, but you kind of do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, they've probably put 5 or 6 defensive backs in the draft. They've actually put a lot of talent from the defensive side into the NFL, but the only knowns in this team right now is going to be the running game with Chris Rodriguez, one of the most hyped running backs in the SEC, if not country. Darian Kennard, their tackle, is one of the best tackles in the country, and we know they've got a running quarterback. So, and Bill mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson. Yeah, I look at their defense and I don't recognize any of the names, but that doesn't really mean anything.
I feel like one thing, I also will say this, I think for Kentucky, I think better coaching amongst other SEC Eastern teams leads to their downfall. I think Mark Stoops is a good coach. I don't think that Kentucky has necessarily been more talented than South Carolina, or last year they got beat by Missouri. Tennessee's another program that you look at it should out-recruit Kentucky on a yearly basis. But Mark Stoops has been able to out-coach Jeremy Pruitt. He just completely owned Will Muschamp. I don't know. We'll see how good of a coach Shane Beamer is on game days. Marcus Satterfield, Clayton White. But that's one thing that could change the fortunes of Kentucky. I think that's why you see Eli Drinkwitz. They beat him last year 20-10. The game was in Missouri. We'll see if Josh Heupel and Shane Beamer upgrades over their predecessors.
All right, let's switch over to the West now. So we've got 2 unders and 1 over there for Kentucky at 7.5. The number for Arkansas, I assume, is lower. Is that correct, Patrick? What do you got?
5.5.
5.5 for Arkansas. And, man, this might be – you talk about interesting teams, but whenever Sam Pittman's in charge, it's going to be really interesting. Last year, Arkansas got jobbed at least a couple of times. The Auburn game was the most ridiculous one. Just the turnaround that Sam Pittman gave that program, I think, is maybe something Gamecock fans can latch onto and say, hey, man, it just took another guy who's never been a head coach, never really been a coordinator, and he came in and look what happened, and things turned around real quick. Now, this year, the expectation's not too high. Bill, why don't we start with you? How are you seeing Arkansas this year?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm buying in that there's this dramatic turnaround taking place there in Fayetteville. I think it'll be kind of interesting to see what exactly they do this coming year, but I'm not necessarily ready to buy in that year two. You look back last year, we know Auburn was a mess, and that game got people excited. Again, Mississippi State was a mess, and they beat them. The huge surprise was winning against Mississippi, right? That was the massive surprise, knocking off Lane Kiffin's team. But I think that was the game Matt Corral threw the ball to everybody but his team, if I'm thinking correctly. Had, I want to say, 4 interceptions in that game. Tennessee, we know they were a mess. Other than that, I don't know how big of how massive a turnaround it was. So now you move forward to this year. Rice in the opener, they should win that one. Texas, I've got it chalked up, even though it's in Fayetteville, as a loss. Georgia Southern is a win. Texas A&M a loss. Then you look at it at Georgia, at Ole Miss, and at Auburn to start the month of October.
Auburn's a home game.
Auburn game.
Excuse me, Auburn's in Fayetteville, but it's hard for me to see them winning those games. And then Arkansas,
Pine Bluff.
Thank you. Okay, Peabody, I don't know. On October 23rd, they get that one. I think they probably maybe they win one, maybe somewhere they're not supposed to, but I'd say 4 and 8, maybe the ceiling. You look at the end of their schedule at LSU, at Alabama, and then Missouri to wrap up the final 3 games. I'll take the under on 5.5.
Patrick, you seeing it the same way?
Yeah, it's such a tough schedule. Texas being a non-conference game is just brutal. Texas is going to be really good this year. Rice isn't, I think, traditionally not a bad team, right? I don't know first thing about them, but couldn't they?
Rice is traditionally a bad team.
Yeah,
compared to
every other
team?
Division I football team.
pretty much.
They have 3 wins. Georgia Southern, Rice, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. I would probably give them Mississippi State as a home game. But even if they sneak up and beat somebody, that puts them at 5. Like if they come out and surprise, I don't even know what's winnable. I mean, if they beat Missouri to end the season, or if they surprise like Ole Miss or something like that, they're only going to get one of those games, those swing games at best, and that'll put them at 5. 5 and 7 is the best that they can possibly do. It's too tough of a schedule.
Yep, agreed. The half game, adding it in there does make it more interesting for some. For this one, I think it makes it less interesting. I think it's much easier to pick the under for Arkansas with that schedule.
We didn't even add a half to them either. They were 5.5.
Oh wow, that Texas game to me is the big key. They end up knocking off Texas game number 2. Kind of all bets are off, and I think that opens up the season. And again, where Steve Sarkisian is almost in the Scott Frost boat immediately out in Texas there, or right back where Tom Herman was. But because of that, I don't think it's going to happen. I think there'll be so much importance on that from the Texas side, and you're right, they're pretty talented, and I think we all believe Steve Sarkisian can call some ball plays and put up some points. Now, can they stop anybody out there in Texas? Is going to be the question. I don't see Arkansas out shooting Texas in week number 2, and then that's a really tough one, as opposed to some of these other schedules that we've already been through from an SEC perspective. Arkansas is the most difficult so far, wouldn't you say? Just the way that lines up, and that Texas out of conference game that is not helping them for sure.
It's always Arkansas and South Carolina, right? The toughest schedules in the country when you look at these lists. It's just when you're in the West and you're the worst team in the West, it's always going to be tough. And when you're South Carolina and you've got Clemson, it's always going to be tough.
And then what you end up getting is South Carolina's always got Clemson, and then you've got Arkansas throwing in a Texas game this year because they do not have a normal out of conference rival like South Carolina has Clemson, and obviously Clemson increasing the difficulty of schedule for South Carolina. So you throw in a top 10 team there in Texas for Arkansas, and it shoots it pretty far up there.
I love Sam Pittman, but that is just such a tough job.
No doubt about it. And year 2 sometimes gets back to reality for new head coaches, and I feel like it might be the situation for him.
And I'll tell you this: we talked about teams that maybe benefited or were hurt the most from Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC. Arkansas, since joining the SEC, is the one who's been hurt the most. Arkansas initially was the school who could go into the state of Texas and maybe pick a couple kids off that hey, come play for us in the SEC. Come be a part of the SEC. Well, then you had Texas A&M come in. That recruiting pitch lost a little bit of shine to it. Now with Texas and Oklahoma, you're basically not. I mean, you're maybe the fifth option behind LSU, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. I'm with you, Patrick. That Arkansas job just got a lot tougher with those two programs coming in, because you don't see Arkansas going into Florida and getting a lot of kids. They were able to go into Texas and get some kids, but now that makes it extremely difficult, given that kids can stay in state. They've got both of the programs there. The kids that Oklahoma won't, who can recruit nationally, they're going to go get into Texas. That's going to make it a little bit more difficult. So it's a tough job now there for Arkansas.
I think Arkansas did win the most SEC championships last year from a sports perspective overall. I think they had 10 of them, and the next closest program had 6, something like that. The baseball team, the most dominant one, stands out in my mind for sure. But we're talking football. We're doing it all morning long. The SEC teams and the over-under for season totals. Love to hear your thoughts at 803-404-6100. So I'm feeling good. Through 4 teams, I'm 2 overs and 2 unders. You guys are 3 overs and 1 under right now. Arkansas being the only under. We've done Ole Miss, we've done Kentucky, and the one other one, we've got Missouri in there as well with Arkansas. We'll get into the rest of the 10 teams as we continue to roll on this morning. Glad you're a part of the show. It's the early game here on 107.5.
All right.
Good. Sunrise is on point behind you, Bill.
It is. That's why I was just going to turn around. Yeah, wind's picking up a little bit there, coming in from the west.
Need to get you a screenshot here.
Where you can see my face still? Oh, it almost looks like what one of those ones you make up or whatever. Yeah, you got to do this early so that it looks like the people can see my face and realize I do have electricity and all that good stuff.
Give us a weird pose, a cheesy pose.
Oh wait, Coach, that wasn't straight. Why is my wrist cocked the way it is? I have to.
Perfect.
Wait, why am I pouring coffee on myself? Am I redoing? I'm a little teapot. I just need to do there was a coach that I knew, Michael Beasley. His son passed away yesterday. If you don't mind just giving him just mention thoughts and prayers for him. Coach down in Blacksville and Barnwell, lost his son yesterday. 30 years old. Tough day.
Yeah, brutal. The Dutch Fork and Keenan football players.
Yeah, just awful.
Last few days. Oh, there you go.
Yep. There you
Brian, gotcha.
Too much of it. We've had 2 more cases in our building. Like,
really? I don't know if I've seen the emails.
but as long as you guys are safe, that's what I care the most about. Keep you guys insulated.
I'm apparently over here trying to figure out how to hold a cup of coffee.
Clemson, Sean, we got to be drama queens here and save South Carolina for last, obviously. But it is just 3.5, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I think that'll be actually one of the quickest ones for us.
Yeah, so maybe we won't. One of the guys playing golf said he put $2,000 on it.
On the over-under? Is that the one that sent us a picture of it? Of his ticket?
Maybe. I didn't ask.
I know somebody said he was going to go do that. He went up to Cherokee and sent us a picture of his ticket.
Sorry to hear that, DC. Good reminders to keep our conversations in perspective for sure. We're just talking about sports. All right, Patrick, so where do you want to go next?
We probably have time for one. If you want to do an easy one, we can do like, I don't know, Alabama's 11.5.
Okay.
We can just say whether or not Alabama will go undefeated real quick.
Well, anybody that listened to the beginning of the show knows our opinion on that.
All right.
Not mine. They don't know mine.
Yeah, they do.
Ooh. Well, you didn't put them in the college football playoff.
Yeah, you did that yesterday. That's what I mean. I'm sorry, at the beginning of the show yesterday.
Oh, I know.
I need to get a pen to keep track of all these. You guys tend to change my predictions around.
I don't know, man. Their schedule sets up pretty well.
All right, about to head back in.
Oh.
Well, then put $2,000 on it, Sean.
Ezra.
Brian hit us up on Facebook Live as he's checking out the beautiful sunrise behind Bill's shoulders on Lake Murray. Says, keep the Beasley family in your prayers. Coach Michael Beasley from Barnwell County lost his son Dustin today after a 2-week battle with COVID. Dustin was in North Augusta. And also, we need to point out the Keenan football family and the Dutch Fork football family. I know it's been talked about a lot lately, and certainly keeping them in our thoughts and prayers this morning. Would appreciate if you do the same. Keeping our football conversation in the proper perspective this morning. We're just having some fun talking football and over-under specifically in the SEC. We've done 4 so far. We do 5 in hour number 1. We're ahead of the curve. We're pacing ahead. So Alabama right now, 11.5 is the number, basically saying, will Alabama go undefeated? I so badly want to say no, but I can't. I just went through their schedule. I got to go over for Alabama, 11.5 this season. Bill, what about you? Where are you going?
I'm taking the under. I think Alabama loses. By the way, it's 11.5. That's regular season, right?
Yep. This is just regular season.
Yeah, I think Alabama loses one. I like Bryce Young. We'll see what he looks like. We haven't seen him that much, but there's so many people to replace. And I know they're all 5 stars coming in. I understand that these guys are all just ridiculously talented players that are coming in. I totally understand that. But it just feels like the year
45.
One somewhere along the line. Maybe it's October 9th at A&M. Maybe it's November 6th against LSU. Maybe Miami trips them up.
Well, they're at Florida as well in week 3. Patrick, you going under as well?
No, I'm going over. I'm going over.
12-0?
12-0, but they're not going to make the college football playoff.
Oh,
because Georgia is going to get them in the SEC championship.
Wow.
And then the sky will fall in Alabama if they go 12-1. They don't make the college football playoff. Oh, Patrick, coming
hot take we have.
Just the hottest of hot takes. Hour 2 coming up here on the early.
Clear.
This is Gamecock basketball.
Their new quarterback has only proven that he is good at making money.
And then he's the number one quarterback in the country.
Good enough to take the Alabama starting quarterback.
All right, Jen, you want to hop off this real quick and do sleep number?
Sure. That'd be great.
See ya.
See, I feel like, Kentucky Joe, this is what I like. Kept texting in saying, here's listing off their talented players, saying this thinks they're going to go 8-4. I want to have all of our listeners of non-South Carolina teams call in and hype up their teams before the season starts. Everyone give us their best pitch for why their team is underrated or whatever.
Yep, Kentucky
We
Joe.
got Kentucky Joe. We've got a UNC fan. One of our live streamers is a Texas guy. We've got a Wisconsin fan, I think, that calls in. We're fairly well represented.
Ross, when has Alabama ever gotten trapped in a trap game?
Have they actually ever? Was South Carolina a trap game?
Yeah, maybe in 2010.
Yeah. All of their losses have been against good teams or fluke circumstances as well.
Believe me, I'm with you, though. I am pulling for it not to happen. But the schedule is actually, to me, it sets up as a non-trap game. There's not a stretch. Miami's not sneaking up on you in the opener. Then you get Mercer. Then you go to Florida, right? Maybe if you had Florida back-to-back or something. Then you get Southern Miss. Then Ole Miss. Then at A&M, at Mississippi State, Tennessee at home, LSU at home, New Mexico State, Arkansas at Auburn. I can't tell you what game is going to be. Which of those games is less than a touchdown favorite?
Going to the Swamp, going to Kyle Field, going to the Swamp will never be a trap game. You'll never be trapped when you're going to the Swamp. You'll never sleep on that. Jimbo Fisher has already ensured that Alabama will not sleepwalk into Kyle Field. And then LSU they're always hyped up for LSU. You're never going to sleep on LSU no matter what. And Auburn, crazy things happen in rivalry games, but Alabama's just so much better than Auburn.
If last year hadn't happened and you're playing Ole Miss this year at home before you're going to Texas A&M, then maybe I'm with you. But Lane Kiffin ain't sneaking up on anybody.
Yeah, but in 2015, that weren't they a 10? Wasn't Ole Miss a 10-win team? It wasn't like they just snuck up and beat Alabama on a random week. They were a very good team.
Right.
This one,
Yeah.
the Bo Wallace game.
That was Hugh Freeze just could figure out how to score against it.
Yeah, they won the Sugar Bowl that year. They were a very good team.
But guys, we're all on the same team here. We don't want Alabama to go undefeated. Only Todd on this show wants Alabama to go undefeated, right? Unless you're putting money on it, Patrick.
Yeah. And by the way, the year Ole Miss beat Alabama, they did win the national championship, right?
And 15. Sounds right. That's hilarious that we're saying, oh, trap Alabama 6 and 11 years ago it happened.
Yeah. And one of those years they ended up winning the title. How did they end in 2010?
Good question. I think they lost one more game. They lost 2 then. 2010. About that. 10-3. All right, 5-3 in the SEC.
They won the Capital One Bowl that year. And then they won back-to-back championships the next 2 years. Then back-to-back Sugar Bowl losses.
So that was never going to be a live stream thing necessarily, Travis.
Oh, the Survivor. Yeah, it's basically impossible to do for college.
should do it like as Power Fives too. Only Power Five team.
Yeah. I mean, we could make our own spreadsheet, but that's so hard to keep up with.
You back, Bill? You good?
I'm back. I need to. Let me get some ice real quick. Come on. Ice my ankle. As we can continue to try to get better. Enjoy the sunrise. Discuss amongst yourselves.
Yes, you will, DC. We'll all watch. We will all watch. Oh, I see what he's saying. Travis just saying everybody from the live stream would be in that survivor pool. Got it. I bet. So, Patrick, who you got teed up to start here? Which two?
Everyone else in the East is interesting. I mean, we can probably get through Tennessee pretty quickly.
Okay.
We'll
do South Carolina from the East to start here, actually, and then who in the West? Mississippi State, the quickest.
Yeah, Mississippi State will be quick.
Oh, that sun is coming up. You can't really see, but there's a boat right there in front of me that has the American flag flying too. It's quite the scene.
Love to see that.
Quite the scene.
Speaking of flags, Gamecock Larry is still holding.
To give his 20-second prediction on Georgia, Clemson.
Yes.
So, Bill, we're going to go Carolina and Mississippi State in this segment. That needs to be done about 12 after or so. Also going to talk about starting quarterback for Carolina.
And we have 3 breaks. I will type it all in right now.
Thank you.
That was a very professional producing moment from both of you guys.
It'll go downhill fast.
We seem way too professional right there.
Guys are over.
So does Zeb Nolan take the job? That's what anonymous texter wrote us on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. We haven't gotten into it today. I feel like we have been talking about this thing for weeks now, and we've expanded our conversation this morning out into the entire SEC here during game week on Tuesday for over and under season total numbers. We've done 5 so far. We've got 9 left by my math, and we might as well get into the South Carolina portion of that. And it's a very quick conversation, right? Since that Vegas number is so low at 3.5, you just do the 3 non-conference games and Vandy, you get to 4. That's kind of the floor, I think, for Gamecock fans in year number 1 for Shane Beamer. I mean, Bill, I don't even quite understand where Vegas is coming up with this number. Do they really think East Carolina or Troy is going to come up and upset Carolina, or they think Vandy and Carolina are maybe even going into this year? I'm confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely when Vegas does something like we could always get Bill Krackenberger back and get his perspective on it. But yeah, when Vegas tends to do something like this, it typically leads to the belief that there are more, that the swing games that Vegas is looking at are different than the swing games we are looking at. I think we're looking at Kentucky, Missouri, maybe Auburn is the swing games. Tennessee. yeah, it feels more like, Vegas is looking at East Carolina, Troy, Vanderbilt as the swing games, is the way Vegas sees it. And maybe they're right. Maybe they're – I'll say it. I said it earlier. I think I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. I think a lot of this is predicated on the complete unknown of the coaching staff. My personal belief is if you had a coaching staff, if you had a head coach with a resume, having been a head coach anywhere, for example, I think Will Muschamp's first year, and I still believe that the team Will Muschamp inherited is worse than the team that Shane Beamer inherits. And I'm trying to think back very quickly. That year, the non-conference games for Will Muschamp were, without looking it up, can we do this, Tim? It was UMass. It was East Carolina. It was Western Carolina. Is that it? That's it. Western Carolina, because Rico Dowdle had a big game. I think Patrick Alfair yesterday was talking about the number of carries. So that was his 3 non-conference games. Western Carolina.
I was thinking it was East Tennessee instead of East Carolina. Sure, it was
East Carolina. Brandon McElwain got his first start. Ran it in the end zone. South Carolina won 20-15. Somebody confirm that now that you've questioned me.
No, that's right. I watched that game at Village Idiot. It was Parents Weekend.
Okay, so yeah. So odd similarity there with East Carolina opening for both Muschamp and Beamer. But with all that being said, I guess the schedules are pretty similar when you talk about Western Carolina was a pretty weak FCS opponent. Eastern Illinois is weaker than they are. East Carolina, the game's in Greenville versus the game being here in Columbia, and then you've got UMass versus Troy. UMass definitely the weaker opponent of that. So with all that being said, maybe Muschamp had a slightly more difficult schedule with very slightly, just in terms of non-conference. But I think if you had a person with head coaching experience, you might see this line closer to 5, 4.5, 5.5, given that, well, you're right. I think the 3 non-conference games and then Vanderbilt would be ones you instantly pencil in to get you to 4. And then could they win one more, a Tennessee, a Missouri, a Kentucky, to get them to 5? So you might have a game difference there with a coach with head coaching experience.
And we might have a discussion if that was the case. But, I mean, if it was 4.5, there could potentially be a bit of a debate between the 3 of us. But 3.5, we're all going over, right?
We're all over. The Jackals are out on the text lines or the live video stream where Mark says 2 wins. That's it. Bank it. Okay, Mark, which 2 are you going? I assume you're going Eastern Illinois, and then are you going East Carolina, Troy, Vandy? Where are you going on that? Man, if you're putting your faith in Vandy in the SEC, good luck with that. Yeah. That's all I would tell you on that one. And the Clemson fans also out this morning, weighing in on this thing. We will move on from that. I did want to get to what the texter was asking. Zeb Nolan, Bill? I know you said very plainly and clearly, loudly, that you think Zeb Nolan will be the starter. Do you feel like Shane Beamer is going to make that announcement today at 1:15 with the press conference, so we're going to hear it from the players before that?
I don't know. That's it. It is interesting that the players will speak before Shane today, and both Zeb Nolan and Jason Brown will speak. And so if they already know, how exactly does that little press conference scenario go? I think Shane treats his players like professionals and knows that they're not going to go out and say something awful. And I think both quarterbacks probably expect to play. I think that's the better question. Do you expect both to play, like meaningful snaps? Zeb Nolan play 3 series, maybe Jason Brown come in and play another 2 series behind that? Or do you expect it to be somebody's start and they go until there's a big lead or until they're not playing well? Which side do you two go with? Do you guys go with that? Do you expect it to be kind of a back and forth for this, or do you expect it to be somebody's game until it's either a blowout or they're performing so poorly you got to take them out?
Well, when we hear Marcus Satterfield say he doesn't want to do running back by committee, I would assume then his mindset is very similar when it comes to the quarterback. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be Zeb Nolan with his experience and his knowledge of the offense. South Carolina needs a quarterback who's not going to lose you a game in this game, right? That's the only way Eastern Illinois has any kind of shot at all, with some kind of turnovers, a scoop and score, a pick six, special teams score, something like that. That's the only way that Eastern Illinois gets anywhere close in this game. And so that's what you want to avoid. And I feel like that's what Zeb Nolan gives you the best chance of at this point from the coaching staff perspective, a guy who you can trust to get you in the right place and to not make mistakes. So I'm in agreement with you, Bill. I think that's who it's going to be, and it's not going to be necessarily the, hey, he's going to play the first 2 series and then it's going to be Jason Brown. I think that would show the most confidence in both of those quarterbacks. I don't think they have that right now from what I've been hearing so far in spring ball and preseason camp. Patrick, where are you at?
I wouldn't be totally stunned if they just went with an or. You know how like the depth chart is just going to say, yeah, it's going to be Jason Brown or Zeb Nolan. They're just – I know Marcus Satterfield said he wanted to name a starter as soon as possible, and you always do want to do that. But it might just be that close, and they really don't think it's going to matter that much, and they might just say, yeah, both these guys are going to play. Somebody, DC said Thursday on the call-in show, if both quarterbacks are speaking today, I might expect Thursday the call-in show, Shane Bieber to say, yeah, Jason Brown will go out there first, but both guys are going to play. No one's really the starter. They're both going to get time.
I think the question, then I would ask you guys, do you think they know, based on what Marcus Satterfield has said, what he prefers, does the team, does the staff know a starter today? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they were off yesterday. The way they're going to do it is they were off yesterday, so no practice yesterday, so they're back today. And based on the way Marcus Satterfield has said it, I would assume that at practice this morning or this afternoon, whenever they're practicing, that it's going to be, they will know who the team will know who the starter is, who's going to lead them out. Because that seems to be the way Marcus Satterfield wants it. And I really don't know what else you're trying to learn in your practice over the next 2 days, 3 days prior to the call-in show. Like, it may not go public. Beamer may not confirm it until the call-in show, but you guys would agree the team itself will most likely know who the starter is today.
Well, the first question of these quarterbacks is going to be who ran with first string today? Who was running with the ones, right?
I think the answer will be both of us.
Yeah, I do think that too.
But to me, this is when I get really irritated with college football programs specifically. If they take this, I feel like that's a Will Muschamp approach. Maybe if it's somebody other than Eastern Illinois, you do that just for to have a little bit of element of surprise. But man, you do not need that this week. And I feel like even with Shane Beamer just coming out and saying, well, let's go ahead and get that out there to Carry-On Joyner's taking some snaps at quarterback too. I don't want message boards and rumors and the whole thing. I feel like as opposed to Will Muschamp, who seemed to love the drama of keeping his starting quarterback secret until game time in his first game. You guys remember that, right? I don't think he never announced the starting quarterback in his first game. And it was Barry Orth that went out there. Brandon McElwain got some playing time against Vandy that night as well. I don't see Shane Beamer do it. I just don't. I see him coming out. I see these guys talking to the media saying coach is going to address that when he talks a little later today. But we both got practice maybe with the ones or whatever. I don't see him playing up that drama. There's just no need for it.
Well, I think, like you said, it is an Eastern Illinois thing. If there's anyone but Eastern Illinois in the schedule, it would be worth discussing. I think they probably feel supremely confident that Luke Doty will be ready for East Carolina, and whatever happens this week probably doesn't matter at all. It's not the NFL where the first quarterback needs all of the reps because there's just limited time and you need all of the opportunities to get better that you can. They're both going to play. Doesn't really matter who starts because it will be their only start of probably their career at South Carolina, and that will be that. I just think they probably don't think it's that big of a deal depending on what they're seeing from Luke Doty. And if we see something like, yeah, both guys are going to play, both guys are taking equal reps, one of them's going to go out there first, but it really doesn't mean anything. That's to me just a message that Luke Doty is going to be ready to go for East Carolina.
Just an interesting idea. Says, I think they announced QB1 on social media before the players speak. See that happening? I guess presumable. And I hadn't even thought about that. Chris says, I now feel Jason Brown will start and Zeb will come in sometime later if he struggles. And DC agrees that the team probably already does. I mean, we all agree that the best case scenario would be in this situation that Colton Gauthier gets to start, right? The true freshman.
Yep.
You're looking at program and long-term prognosis, but that doesn't seem like it's anywhere close to a likelihood from what we've heard so far in preseason camp. Wanted to get one quick SEC team over-under beside the Gamecocks here in the first segment. So we're all going over 3.5 for Carolina. Troy has an interesting breakdown as a Clemson fan looking at the Carolina schedule. I see 3 losses, 2 wins, and 7 toss-ups. So if they split the toss-ups, that's 6-6 or 5-7. Interesting way to look at that thing. The other SEC team we wanted to hit this segment was Mississippi State. Patrick, is that correct?
Yep, 6.5 for them.
There's 6.5.
Well, they were 6.
I thought it was going to be 5.5. That makes sense. I guess that it's at 6. So that's an easy under for me on Mississippi State. They're scheduled really quickly. Louisiana Tech at home, NC State at home to start, then at Memphis. So 3 straight non-conference games to start. I think they'll go 2-1, probably at best there. They could certainly be 1-2, losing NC State and at Memphis. Then it's LSU at home, at Texas A&M, Alabama. Good luck with that stretch. Then at Vandy, Kentucky, at Arkansas. Could presumably win all 3 of those games. At Auburn could be a win. Tennessee State, and then Ole Miss to end there. I see it as I would go under 5.5 if I had to, but an easy under at 6.5. Bill, where are you at Mississippi State?
What was it again? 6.5?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I got Louisiana Tech, Memphis, Vanderbilt. See, in Tennessee State, that's 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the under barely. I think they get to 5. It wouldn't shock me if this team, if year 2 of Mike Leach, they've got Will Rogers back as their quarterback, and maybe a year in the system. You look at
They've got a 4 too. They're the only other team in the SEC that hasn't named a starting quarterback.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You look at the end of the year, putting up 51 on Missouri might be a little misleading because, again, Missouri was ravaged by COVID, but they were competitive last year. The 7-point loss to Mississippi, the 7-point loss to Georgia. After they got through the initial kind of SEC slate, but I don't know. A very up and down year for Mississippi State last year, despite only winning 3 regular season games, 4 counting the Armed Forces Bowl where they had the big fight as well. But, they beat LSU, never really recovered from that, and then again was competitive down the stretch. I'll take the under, which is 5 or 5.5, but I think they get right to it. I think 5-7 for Mississippi State feels about right this year.
Patrick, what you got?
Yeah, this one's very easy for me. It's under. I would have picked under at 5.5 too. I think they'll probably go over in the West. They'll beat Vanderbilt. They'll beat Tennessee State. They'll probably beat La Tech because it's a home game, but they could easily lose to NC State. They could easily lose to Memphis. I can't see that being a good team. I have so little regard for Mike Leach after what he did last season, beating LSU, and that was the game that pretty much fired Bo Pelini before the season even started. And after that, every team just dropped 8 men in coverage, and you just can't win with a true air raid. You have to be able to evolve. And Mike Leach seems like a guy that's stubborn enough to think, I'll just do the same thing over again, and it'll work.
Oh, we got a few stubborn guys on this show as well. Not just stubborn guys on the show. 803-404-6100 if you would like to join. Other stubborn guy, our favorite 87-year-old caller. When we come back, we continue our SEC over and unders for season win totals. It's the early game on 107.5 again. I think we're getting a little better on the absolute disaster that can be my house at eating time, at dinner time especially. I think the 16-month-old is almost 17 months, so he's graduated from throwing everything to now squealing and just hitting everyone in the face, which is not necessarily a good thing. It is a good thing when it comes to our floors, as is Zero Res, carpet and air duct cleaning. Zero Res has been out to our house a couple of times. They've done a great job cleaning our carpets. They cleaned an area rug for me, the tile in both the kitchen and the bathroom, freshened that up, and really impressed my wife with the job that they did. Also gave our home that nice, fresh home feel and smell. Let Zero Res do that for you as well. They can also clean your air ducts if you're looking for that. They can clean your business, their commercial cleaning division, working day and night all over the Midlands, following all the CDC guidelines, making sure everything is clean and sanitized in the process. ZeroResColumbia.com is where you can go right now to book your appointment, find out all the details about their specific Howard water cleaning system. No harsh chemicals involved in that. That's what's really important to me and my family with 3 kids, always rolling around on the carpets these days. Also, no leftover soapy residue. That's why my carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. when you call Zero Res at 803-262-4020. Again, book online right now at ZeroResColumbia.com. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Dude's just bailing on me. All right, looks like we're going to have our oldest and youngest callers.
Oh.
Well, now I'm going dark.
That's tragic.
Was getting a New Orleans update.
What's the word?
Everyone's got no power basically, but my family's all got generators. No, cell service is really bad, so they were able to get like a couple texts out. And they have not heard from my cousin who lives in Thibodaux. And Thibodaux got hit really, really bad. So that is what they're.
I have friends in Baton Rouge, and they were fortunate. You know, there's some power outages, but they had a big tree that fell in the yard. But other than that, yeah, so very fortunate there. Anxious to hear about the ones you haven't heard from.
Yeah, they're assuming there's no cell service. The cell tower's like all down around there, so hopefully that's just the deal. But that's more southern and like almost right where it made land. But I mean, they've been through this before.
DC Gamecock Larry's been hedging his bet. He's giving us a 12-0 until proven otherwise, but 8-4 right now.
Yeah, but at the golf tournament, then didn't he go to saying that we'd have 7 wins?
He tries to hit every number just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just trying to keep him from giving his political hot takes at the golf tournament.
There you go.
It didn't work.
Well, he gave him off air. You just decided to put the camera on you.
I don't know. Some people might have heard. It depends how closely they were listening.
Yikes. That's how you can tell it was a really serious storm. When a tree falls on your house and car and all is well.
Yeah. Mandeville's right on Lake Pontchartrain.
I was gonna say we had yesterday. Trent was going down Old Chapin just past the neighborhood, and a tree limb came out and nailed his side mirror. And it was a big, so like he stopped so we could at least get a police report and whatever, so we can get insurance to pay for it. But and I had just missed a tree last week. One fell like literally right in front of me along there, so. Can't imagine. Scary stuff with trees, wind, and wet. Not good combinations.
Not a good combo.
Patrick, how about we go with Vandy and Auburn?
Vandy and Auburn?
I feel like one that we won't have much discussion on, and we will.
Us.
Thank you.
Travis sent me a Crown Royal chair. Travis, that's expensive. $1,200.
Was it a throne?
Yeah, well, yeah, like a throne, like something you'd see at a liquor store. It's on, I guess, so you can buy it. Crown Royal throne in perfect condition, one of 250 made. Looking for. Travis is not selling this. He just sent me a picture. Somebody else was looking for 1,500 cash or trade. Good Lord.
Speaking of that, Bill, I was watching something on Netflix tonight called Heist. It's a documentary, kind of. They kind of re-dramatize it, but the fifth and sixth episodes are like the Great Bourbon Heist or something. So that's
Really?
Wow.
yeah.
Bill was probably the brains of that.
I think we got the Buffalo. We got the Buffalo Trace for the Thursday night, the early game, late edition.
That's where this takes place, like at the Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Really? I had nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like distillery.
Exactly. Hey guys, Rip.
Almost at the halfway point of the show. A great time to get out to the Love Chevy phone lines and to the spectrum of our callers.
With our favorite 87-year-old call, Gamecock Larry's been waiting very patiently to weigh in this morning, specifically about a Clemson, Georgia prediction. Gamecock Larry, is that what has you fired up this morning, as well as us leaving you on hold for a little bit?
No, I'm going to wait till tomorrow because you guys got me confused on this over and under. But I'm going to say about somebody said Missouri going to go 6-0 in the first 6 games. That's not right. They're going to lose to Kentucky at least. Now this over and under. I don't understand that, but if you guys say 4-4 and I say 5-3, I understand that I got the over and you got the under.
If the number was 4.5.
And so we're going to say Kentucky, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Auburn. We're going to beat them. And Georgia, A&M, and Florida, and Missouri. We're going to have to win one. We're going to win one of them, and I'll predict Florida. So that's 5-3. And we're going to upset everybody saying Missouri is going to beat us. Drinko, whatever his name is, Drinker. They say he's better upcoming coach. And so we're going to upset Missouri. So we're going to go 6-2. So that means I got the over. And that means you guys got the under. I'm going to hold off on Clemson and Georgia because I don't like either one of them. I don't know. I'd be happy if they wound up in a 0-0 tie or if they wound up in a 71-71 tie. It wouldn't make no difference to me as long as neither one of them won. That's about all I got to say. Tim, Bill, and Pat, and Jen, go Gamecock.
Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen, fired up. Not quite getting the over-under. That's impressive that it sounds like even if the number was SEC wins at 4.5 for the Gamecocks, he would go over this year.
He was still taking. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the other end of our spectrum. One of our youngest listeners out there, Sean, would like to join us next on the Love Chevy phone line. Sean, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. You on your way to school, I hope?
Yes, I am. And I have till 7:45 now since
Okay.
I'm at a new campus.
Very nice. New campus. What are you guys doing in school today? We doing some math? We doing a little reading? What do we got going?
I really don't know, and I'm just excited for the Gamecocks to play and to have me some chicken wings and some celery and some just a lot of cool food.
Now, wait a second.
And
There you go.
Sean, I need to know, are you a blue cheese guy with your chicken wings and celery? Are you a ranch guy? Well, how do you do that?
I'm a ranch.
Okay, that was easy.
Wow.
Good boy.
Jen is with you as well. She just physically had a response to that blue cheese stuff. All right,
Don't let your
Sean.
dad make you eat celery.
Eastern Illinois, what do you want to see? Who's going to be the Gamecock starting quarterback? Let's start there.
Let's see. Who's gonna be the starting quarterback?
Don't let your dad tell you.
I think it's going to be. I really don't know.
Okay,
There you
that's
go.
very fair. Nobody else does either, Sean. Don't feel bad. Shane Beamer hasn't told us yet either. All right, what about?
Shane Beamer hasn't told you?
No, he hasn't. Can you believe that? I don't know. We've been asking him. He hasn't told us yet. So, what about this year in 12 games, Sean? How many games do you think the Gamecocks are going to win out of the 12 regular season games? Give us a number.
12.
All 12.
There you go.
Attaboy. Sean, we appreciate your time. Here's what we need to do. Call us tomorrow and give us a report on what you actually did in school today. So we don't just think
Okay.
your life is filled with chicken wings and ranch. Correct?
Okay.
All right. Attaboy. Sean,
Good life.
on the Love Chevy phone lines. Anthony says Gamecock Sean is a breath of fresh air, especially after Gamecock Larry.
A lot more positive than Gamecock Larry, who just predicted 6-2 in the
Hey, losses
in the conference.
Wow. How about that?
Negative Larry and Gamecock Sean.
Let's keep it going in our SEC over and unders. Again, we're just doing season win totals. Vegas puts out a number every year. We make it a half to make sure that we don't end up as a tie. So, or Vegas makes it a half. They have 3.5 as the Gamecocks number this season. Out of 12 regular season games, they're going to only win 3 or 4 games is basically what they're saying. If it's 4 or more, you go over and you win. If it's 3 or less, you go under and you win. That's how it works, is how I break it down. What's the Vandy number? Is it the same, Patrick? Is it 3?
For our sake, it is going to be the same. They were 3 on the number.
Gotcha.
So we're going 3.5.
Okay. And Vandy's non-conference schedule, as I pull it up, and believe me, this won't be a long discussion. East Tennessee State to start. At Colorado State, the former Fighting Mike Bobos. Stanford comes in week 3. So they start with 3 non-conference games that they should win 2 of them. But at Colorado State would be a road victory. Stanford, I assume, will be favored, even though it's in Nashville. Then the 4th non-conference game is in week 5 of the season with Connecticut coming to town. So wait a second. Let me do this math here. They should beat East Tennessee. I'll put Colorado State as a toss-up game. Should be Connecticut. Those are guaranteed. So you got 2 guarantees that you're sitting at 3, but then you got nothing left after that, right? You'd have to win at Colorado State and then just pull off one more win in SEC play. South Carolina is probably going to be their best shot, knowing that they get the Gamecocks at home on October 16th. The rest of the schedule, they do have that's in Columbia on October 16th.
Yeah.
Maybe Mississippi State at home the week following South Carolina might be their best bet. They're also at home the next 2 weeks after that against Missouri and Kentucky. Conceivable wins for Vanderbilt. At Tennessee in that last game of the season, like usual. You guys, I assume, will go under. I'm going under here.
Yeah, let's just go under. Yeah, it's basically, I think they will beat Colorado State because Colorado State was 1-3 last year. They are not good. UConn is horrendous. They are so bad. 45,000 of Fresno State is so embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
And then East Tennessee State. But I just can't see them. I wanted to pick them to upset somebody because I actually think Ken Seals could be a decent little quarterback for them, but they're just not a good team. So, yeah, under.
All right.
3 on the number is what they're going to get. They're going to win 3 games.
RL went over. He might be the only one. RL, I'm guessing you're not putting a lot of money behind that confident vote here this morning. That would be a strong play this year to go over in Vegas with Vanderbilt. We'll move back to the west side and get into an Auburn conversation. That might be one of the more interesting teams out there in SEC play. We'll do that when we come back, officially kick off the second half of the show here. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
And I am looking forward to this football season. just like you are, but for in so many ways. There's nothing better than getting posted up like Sean plans to do with his chicken wings or whatever your favorite food might be. You do that in your most comfy chair, typically there, and you have your spread. Maybe you got multiple TVs going, and you could take in a full day of college football. You can do it the next day, too, with NFL football. I recommend you do it with a recliner from Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding. You go into Daniel's, they're out at the airport. Go see them in West Columbia. When you walk in, just look to your right. It's recliners as far as the eye can see. You got the leather gallery over there as well, the hardwood floor. Just go sit in what they have on the floor there. And if you like what they have on the floor, it can be yours. Daniel's is pretty simple when it comes to that. They're not going to complicate your life. You go in, you see something you like, you want to buy it, you can buy it right off the floor. And if you live within 20 miles of the store there in West Columbia, they'll deliver it for you for free. Daniel and June Clark, they understand. They've been doing it for 25 years here in the Midlands. They want you to be part of their family. They understand what that means, the importance of trusting who you are buying from and what you are getting. And you don't have to have the exact amount of pieces that comes with the furniture set. You can mix and match. They will work with you to get you exactly what you need. I recommend you get out there as soon as you can. Tell them Tim Hill sent you. You heard about them on 107.5 The Game. That's Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding out near the airport in West Columbia, 3911 Edmond Highway, the exact address there for Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding.
Clear. From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Road at Highway 1, still causing a bit of a slowdown there. Evening storms possible tonight. Otherwise, today's high 91 under a mix of clouds and sun. 84 for the high tomorrow. Patchy.
Need to take Jen off. Trey, you've been a part of this show you've been a part of the live stream forever. You know the joke. You know that you know that this is how I look like every morning. You've been here. I'm pretty sure you might have been involved in the vote. Would you rather see the background, or would you rather see my face?
Do you want us to be honest?
Yeah, you already have been honest. You've already been honest. We've already covered this.
I just want to make sure you knew my position.
Maybe we shine a bunch of lights into your studio. Huh? I feel like this is just a slow trying to get to Thursday. I feel like if we can get to Thursday, we're all right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Don't worry. After the press conference today, after the players talk as well, we'll be good to go for tomorrow, Thursday morning. Maybe that's when we'll try to do Perry. I didn't talk to him yesterday. Let's see if I can get him to do Thursday.
I want Friday to be, Bill, when you were recording your sleep number, I was saying we have people text in that are fans of different teams. I want everyone to call in and give their best hype speech for their team and why their team needs more credit. This Kentucky Joe, who's our guy from Chapel Hill, all these teams have a lot of buzz around them right now, but we don't talk about them. I want our non-South Carolina fans. Wisconsin Joe can call Jen.
We have a Wisconsin Joe?
Is that what his name is, Joe?
John,
Wisconsin John, yeah.
I was about to say, is that just something every fan base has, is a so-and-so Joe?
all right. Yo,
Is
Joe.
it Matthew, the Chapel Hill fan?
No,
Scott.
it's a Tar Heel Jacob.
Jacob, yeah.
Hey, what do you think about
fans.
West Virginia versus Maryland this week? West Virginia is a 2.5-point favorite at Maryland.
Yeah. I don't know much about West Virginia, really.
They got Jarrett Dodge back. They've got their running back coming back is pretty good.
I think it's Jarrett Dagey.
Huh?
I think it's Jarrett Dagey.
I looked last night. Initially, I liked Maryland, but now I'm not sure. But Maryland's got a bunch of guys coming back.
Yeah. I mean, Talia Tagovailoa was incredible and then awful at the beginning and end of the season. I mean, he lit up Minnesota in that first game, but then was so bad against Indiana. I don't know. I think Maryland could be okay.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple last night. I do like Missouri minus 14.5 against Central Michigan to start.
I would have really liked to go to that Maryland game. It'll be a lot of fun.
West Virginia and Maryland. I think that's a sneaky underrated game for the first weekend.
Yeah, and there's a lot of overlap in those fan bases. I mean, a lot of Maryland people go to West Virginia.
Yeah, Josh, you got to call in to get a nickname. Of course, then you got to be careful. You could end up like Costanza, not getting the nickname you want, or
it's hard to get a nickname as a Gamecock fan on this station now.
We are back in. Yeah. You're up.
803-978-6654. If you don't want to wait on hold, if we're not doing a show at that time, if you just need the vent, the hot take hotline there for you 24/7. Again, the number is 803-978-6654. Sponsored by the Peak. Ever settle, go see him down in Vista at 600 Jordan Street. Brian Harsin, Boise State, and out of nowhere, the new Auburn head football coach. Coached by the former Gamecock offensive coordinator and Mike Bobo on the offensive side of the ball, and the former Vanderbilt head coach. Eric Mason on the defensive side of the ball, just recovering from COVID. Auburn, to me, is the most interesting team in the SEC, and it's not even close this year. What is their over-under according to Vegas, sir? And where are you going, Patrick?
7.5, and I think I'm going to go pretty easy under.
Let's hear it.
I mean, Akron, Alabama State, Georgia State are 3 of their first 4 games. They've also got Penn State on there. That's a night game in Happy Valley. No idea which way to go on that. I think Auburn and Penn State are kind of similar teams. Both were very underwhelming last year, but I think do still have some talent. Tank Bigsby is the attraction for Auburn this year. He's probably going to have a monster year. He really is a beast. But I just don't. All these swing games, they're not going to beat Georgia. I don't think they're going to beat LSU. LSU is the most interesting team in the Southeastern Conference for me. I think Ole Miss can come into Auburn and beat them. I can't find 8 wins. I see 3 easy ones, and I can't declare them a winner in any game except maybe Mississippi State. So I just think the safer play will be the under there.
7.5, Bill. What do you got with Auburn?
I'm with you. I'm fascinated by Auburn. You guys see recently what Brian Harsin put in the elevators at Auburn? Or is this a move that flies at the SEC? Have you guys seen the sign that's in the elevators for Auburn
only
players?
if you're injured. Only injured players should be on the elevators. That's the deal.
Yep. Everybody else has got to take the steps. You guys, I mean, does that work?
No, that's a high school move. Maybe it's a Boise State move. I just don't see it. It was Josh Heupel he was also
super excited about guys
praising
taking
his guys for taking the stairs.
Yeah, for one.
I guess you guys want to be those guys, and it's August, and you get some attention. Okay, good luck with that.
I think it's funny. I've flipped over. I've left CNBC here this morning, and Auburn, Alabama from 2013 is on Auburn's number 4 in the country. Alabama's number 1, and just happened to flip over this. Auburn's interesting. Bo Nix, Patrick, we're aware of your feelings about Bo Nix. Tank Bigsby is certainly a guy that is probably wanting as few touches as possible so that he can go to the NFL after next year. He'll be only a sophomore this year, but to save his body a little bit. But they may absolutely wear him out with touches this year. They've already lost a starting defensive tackle in Tyrone Truesdale, who left earlier this month to enter the transfer portal.
Big Cat Bryant transferred as well.
Big Cat Bryant transferred. I'll say this too. I wonder about the dynamics of, we thought we've talked about what Will Muschamp's staff was, and you bring in all these guys with SEC experience. there's no doubt in my mind Derek Mason is looking to get back to being a head coach. So how does he handle some stuff with Brian Harsin? Is he allowed to check his ego at the door and basically realize that Harsin's the head coach? Mike Bobo has been around the SEC longer than Brian Harsin. If something goes wrong, is Bobo going to get upset and try and pull a power card on that? And then throw in the fact of the Auburn boosters. I don't know if this is the guy the Auburn boosters wanted after their power trip to get Kevin Steele in failed. It just feels like it has the feeling of a disaster, and that's why I'm gonna go with you. You look at the schedule: Akron, Alabama State, Georgia State. I think they lose. I think they get beaten pretty soundly by Penn State up there in Happy Valley. Back-to-back games on October 2nd and 9th at LSU and Georgia. Then they get Arkansas, and quite frankly, I took the under in Arkansas, but I wouldn't be shocked. It wouldn't. I'm going to take, if we were doing a straight up pick 'em right here and saying pick the games, I would take Auburn to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Sam Pittman and Arkansas are able to pull an upset after Auburn has gone back-to-back weeks at LSU and Georgia, and then Arkansas trips them up. You're right. Mississippi comes to town after that. Auburn will be coming off a bye week, then at Texas A&M, Mississippi State on November 13th. Who knows what they are when they come to South Carolina on the 20th and then Alabama on the 27th. I'll take the under with you.
I think they're somewhere between 5 and 7 wins this year. I think that's the window for Auburn. So I'm also an under here. And this Brian Harsin experiment is going to be fascinating because it's the anti-South Carolina approach right now, right? The SEC mercenaries. That seems to be exactly what the Auburn coaching staff is, at least at the coordinator spot, and Mike Bobo and then Derek Mason coming from other programs last year. And then you got the outsider rolling in from Boise State and Brian Harsin, who I'm not sure understands exactly what he's getting himself into. 803-404-6100. Love to hear your thoughts this morning. More SEC over-unders, season win totals as we roll on. It's the early game here on 107.5.
107.5 The Game. The Game is on everywhere. On the air, online, on your phone.
It is that season. Tailgating season is upon us. Do you have the proper tailgating vehicle? If not, you need to go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You need to get out there today. Check out all the great deals that are taking place at Love Chevrolet. I tell you what, a lot of people right now are having to deal with the computer shortage that has reduced the number of new vehicles available for sale. And at Love Chevrolet, it's no different. Totally understandable, no different. But what is different at Love Chevrolet is that they are not tacking on extra add-ons to the price of their new cars to take advantage of customers during this time of high demand and low supply. It's just wrong. At Love Chevrolet, it's business as usual. So if you're looking for a brand new Chevrolet, for that tailgating vehicle, maybe a Tahoe, maybe a Silverado, Love Chevrolet is providing the absolute largest selection, the lowest price guaranteed, and is always treating you with the utmost respect and integrity. That's why they've been South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer since they opened their doors over 60 years ago. Go see Love Chevrolet, the family-owned dealership that offers a huge selection of certified pre-owned trucks, cars, and SUVs, as well as the Love Chevrolet line, the brand new cars and trucks you've grown to love, all at a great location, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
.com.
All right, Patrick. So how many we got left here? Got Florida, Georgia.
Florida, Georgia, Tennessee in the East. LSU, A&M in the West.
LSU, A&M. Nice. It's a good one. Why don't we do Tennessee when we come back to end this out?
Yeah, I think that could be a quick one too. This is super disrespectful. I Googled Talia Tagovailoa, and it pops up when you're typing it in. There's like a little headline for the Wikipedia title. I guess, can you see it? No, you probably can't. Yeah, right underneath it says Tua Tagovailoa's brother. That's his headline. Doesn't even give him quarterback of the Maryland Terrapins.
That's rough.
It's just mean. And then it says people also searched for, is Talia Tagovailoa good?
What are you reading? I need to know more about this. I'm back and forth on that game.
No, I was reading when you type in Talia Tagovailoa, it doesn't even pop up Maryland quarterback or football quarterback. It says Tua Tagovailoa's brother.
Ah. Well, that's what you always want to be known as.
I think he's got 2 years of eligibility still, maybe 3. Yeah, his season was just crazy. He was horrendous in a 43-3 loss against Northwestern. He had 3 interceptions and 94 yards passing, no touchdowns. Then the next week plays Minnesota in prime time and goes for 394 and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Then beats Penn State with 282 and 3 touchdowns, and then throws 3 interceptions in a loss to Indiana. Just 2 amazing games and 2 horrific games. What about Talia? Talia. Well, he's really good sometimes.
The guy I work with
What a troll text we just got in.
The high school that they
What a what?
for Georgia. There's a kid that's coming here.
You gotta do.
Committed to Maryland?
Yeah,
Georgia?
from Georgia. I'll tell you.
Neo Avery?
How much?
Oh, that's a
Natural light.
other way around. That's okay. Oh, AJ's one. No.
I want to get where the fan is so the air can actually get out.
Larry is clearly on the Jason Brown train. I think he might be related to him. Morning, Perry.
If you call with the traffic report, I appreciate it. If you say go, Pack, go, it might get ugly real fast. Just saying.
Good call.
My dad's analysis of Talia was not good. He's not good.
So are we leaning West Virginia in the opener?
Probably. It's 2.5, is that what you said?
2.5.
We're about to head back in.
At Maryland, is that right?
At Maryland.
Yeah.
Morning, Perry. Why don't you just take over here this last
I
segment?
will. Good morning, guys.
Hey, morning.
Boy.
Patrick went out and hired his own intern to come in and bring him stats.
I know how
I
nice
know,
is
he
that.
took my office. He took everything.
Prop it up on something. He's trying to make the screen better.
Not better. Just,
We'll take the extra minute.
I don't know, if the lights just didn't make it too. I was just saying, if you had something like you hear the fan blowing,
Yeah.
but the fan actually the air is not really. It's just blowing it up. It's not getting
All right,
out.
yes, right.
So if you're about
SEC over and unders. We're through 9 out of 14 teams, 5 left, 3 in the East, 2 in the West. So we need to knock out 1 more here to get us to 4 going into hour number 3. That leads us to Tennessee with brand new coach Josh. Another really interesting team headed into SEC play this year. Bill, what are you thinking as you look through Tennessee's over under for the season? Patrick, what do you have Tennessee's over/under number at? Season total what?
It was at 6 even, so rounded up to 6.5.
Oh, there's no way to get a 6.5.
I thought this one would be quick.
Yeah, the opener, they'll win that one. I'm not going to try and say their name after you guys made fun of me the end of last week. Pittsburgh in week 2. Pittsburgh is a huge win in week 2. That is winnable for them. You guys saw yesterday they announced. Patrick, were you surprised by this? I saw Tim putting on Twitter that you were all over it. Joe Milton getting the start of a Herndon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker, but no, I'm not surprised. Hendon Hooker had the buzz early, but after the way guys were talking about Joe Milton the last couple of weeks, how strong and big his arm is, I was like, it seems like things are trending in the Joe Milton direction. He's not starting 12 games for them. They'll play multiple quarterbacks, but I'm not surprised.
You said
So
6 is the
you have
over-under?
Tennessee. Yeah, 6 is just too high. I can get to 6 on their schedule. Things have got up well, but I don't see them going 7 and 5. I mean, that would be
30.
a tremendous first year for Josh Heupel. I think
5.5. 5.5 would have made it very interesting. I'll take the under on 6.5.
So we're all under on Tennessee with that 6.5 number as we roll into our number 3. We still got Georgia and Florida in the East, LSU, and who left in the West?
A&M.
And Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Could argue maybe the 4 best teams not named Alabama in the SEC. I don't even know if that's an argument. We'll argue in hour number 3 coming up next.
Yeah. Saving the best for last. This will be.
It feels so good outside. I know that we're going to have a few more incredibly hot days, but it feels absolutely awesome outside this morning.
Let's take us out there, man.
Man, we're just opening the door. Taking you out there doesn't help you feel what it's like.
Absolutely. I have that kind of laptop. You don't have the virtual reality laptop?
Several accidents to let you know about. Hugie at Divine Street in downtown Columbia.
Yeah. Oh, got a flashing light. Flashing light. Yeah, let's see.
Too much sun. There it is. Good
No
looking.
ducks. It'll flash here in a second. Let's see how long we got. Oh, no. We got.
No.
Gonna stay one side or the other. Oh, that's the side with the palm meadow tree.
Yeah, it's looking back out.
What do you got temperature-wise? Solid 78 right now?
I don't know. I need maybe Friday morning we'll have to do the show out here. Can I could maybe get my face in right there. Put it on the grill.
Looks good.
I believe
Looks
that's
really
a
good.
shot.
Got the tune back there.
You can kind of see ducks that may show up. Let's see how far we can go.
Yeah,
I could do that. Oh yeah, you still see all the old fat face in there, old pinchable cheeks.
Wait a second. We gotta.
What? What are you looking at?
Want to grab the awkward screenshot?
What? Which one? The old pinchable cheeks? Did you get that one in there?
Yep. That's perfect. I mean, if we're gonna, Hope was really talking up the YouTube subscriber list yesterday. Nice job, Hope, by the way, who says hi to Perry. And by the way, he's a married man, Hope, so take it easy on that flirting.
Yeah.
Got the subscribers up to over 800 yesterday. Now we advertise these beautiful screenshots that Bill's putting out there. Maybe that'll help us. $806. Nice work yesterday, Hope. Nice work. Cruising.
If I sit in my lounge chair.
Oh, jeez. That needs a cigar.
What
do you think, Patrick?
I would like to know how many. I think I would put the over/under at 4.5. How many college football players he could name? Current. I would like to know that. See how many he would actually. I don't think he could name anyone of them.
He gave you the answer on Talia Tagovailoa. Not good.
Yeah, that would be one. I don't know if he'd know another Maryland player. Maybe Raheem Jarrett. And I think he would be able to pull Brian Breesy from Clemson, potentially, because the kid's from right here.
I'm sorry, did you say Brian Breesy?
Yeah, the #1 defensive tackle recruit last year.
Yeah. Not the son of Bob Greasy.
No, Brees with a B.
Breesy.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's psyching me out.
That kid's from this area, so he might know that name.
So that kind of has. Where do I go dark? There, it's in that area.
I did a test with the CBS Sports Update. It looked like it was current and it was going to work, and it did not. So
no,
dumped it fast.
I'm confused. What do you mean the test?
Because it'll show up that there is a sports flash there, but we never run it because it's either out of date or it kicks straight to CBS.
Yeah.
And usually the date's wrong, but today the date was actually right. So I thought, oh, maybe something got fixed. So now we end up every morning we come in and pull from the 4 o'clock hour. We pull the CBS Sports Update and put it in the system to play every morning.
But it's still set up to record at the top of the hour. The thing is that CBS has changed the way that they run it. They don't run them at the top of the hour anymore.
Is that what it is?
So it'll never be right.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that because it still shows up.
Right.
It normally says the day before, right, Jen?
Correct.
At like 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. So it said today, and that's why I thought, oh, maybe that got changed or whatever.
Yes. So it still should be like the top. I'm guessing it was the beginning of the Amy Lawrence show, right? Isn't that what it recorded?
Yeah, I didn't even let it go that far. But yeah, whatever's on now. So keep doing the usual. Just like I said, thought with all the different things happening, maybe something had changed.
No, there's no way to set that thing to record automatically because it floats. No.
Okay, good to know.
So that's why we got to do it manually. And the corporate boss said he fought for us, and I knew that's how a lot of affiliates did it, and that they knew that we would be kind of out of luck if they changed it, but they just changed their clocks. They did it back when there were no sports, back in the pandemic, and they just haven't changed it.
I gotcha. Okay. Like I said, it's standard daily practice, so it's not like it's a big deal.
But thanks for reminding me. I will. I should shoot him a message and say, "Hey, don't know if you guys noticed, but we have sports back. You guys want to get back to how it used to be?"
Ah, you're funny. Okay, 2 breaks this hour.
What you giggling at?
Jay saw Colin Coward responded to a tweet about fish yesterday and said, "The good news, nobody that loves fish has a job."
Wow. Oh boy.
I kind of want to tag Pearson and Jay in that.
Don't show that to some of our other coworkers.
I'm going to tag them in it.
Oh, happy
joy.
Perfect strangers to start the 8 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yep.
Oh, here we go on a Tuesday, 8:03 a.m. College football kicks off on Saturday, and now I'm getting inspired by an underrated 80s sitcom theme song.
Just feels good, doesn't it? Just feels good.
Sure does. As well as you sitting on the banks of Lake Murray right now. Beautiful day. You took us outside a little bit during that national break and showed us the sights. We got harmonica.
Beautiful.
Here we go. Have you noticed? I've noticed the text trolls are still out there. Not everybody's feeling great this week. I was had Larry just talking about, just absolutely hyping up the Shane Beamer situation as much as possible, saying, is this the first controversy with the quarterback? And then Deb Nolan coming in. What about everything he's tried to cultivate with the culture standpoint, the whole deal? They're playing Eastern Illinois this week. It would be a massively different deal if you're playing even East Carolina or Vanderbilt or a team that legitimately has a chance to compete with you physically. Eastern Illinois is not that team. Who hit us on the live stream? DC, I think, said he tried to go back and watch Eastern Illinois, Indiana State yesterday, and Bill, I know you watched the first half on Saturday night doing some professional scouting. What did you find the first half of Indiana State and Eastern Illinois, sir?
Once you're able to work your way past the announcing portion of it, Eastern Illinois has got I will say that the one part, and when I say concern, is a relative term, I guess, here to what you believe. But what's his name? Patrick Oliver Kuntz, Houston. I didn't even take time to learn the quarterback's name.
Yeah.
Otto
Kuntz.
Kuntz. Sure. Yeah. Not even worried about that guy. Gamecocks by 90. What I think though is that he is mobile. I think that's going to be just kind of an interesting matchup for South Carolina's defensive line, for new defensive line coordinator Jimmy Lindsey. We've heard some things the defensive linemen talking about. Oh yeah, we like this scheme better. We're not holding up blocks and allowing linebackers to kind of fill the gaps, hit the run gaps, if you will, and make plays. We're allowed to go and make plays as well. So I'm interested to see that, just because Otto Kuntz, the quarterback for Eastern Illinois, is
it's not that hard to say.
But when y'all say it, I forget it. It's not that I can't say it. It's that I forget. It's that I don't care, because after this game against Eastern Illinois, we'll never see Eastern. Like if you ever wanted to see Eastern Illinois in person, this is your opportunity, because we'll never see them again, right? Like
you might see an Eastern Illinois quarterback in the league. They've had two recently. One really good in Tony Romo, and the other one, I don't think we call Jimmy Garoppolo really good anymore.
I'll see East Carolina on the schedule again at some point. I could very well see Troy on the schedule again at some point. Everybody else I'll see at some point. But no, just watching them, I think it's going to at least just be interesting to see how South Carolina handles a mobile quarterback, and that's kind of where his strength is in terms of being able to get out and make some plays. The running back, Bowie, is not a super fast kid that's gonna, if you give him a break, he's gonna be able to take it 75, 80 yards. He's more of kind of a hammer type running back that wants to wear on you all game, and I don't think that this is the type of physical matchup that suits well for him. Wide receivers didn't really impress me. Again, this is a game that South Carolina should go out. Doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. I'm with you. You said it earlier. If you were talking about the future of the program, you kind of just say, hey, let's get Colton Gauthier some snaps and see how he does and where he goes, instead of worrying about the here and now of Jason Brown and Zeb Nolan. But I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. I think you will see Luke Doty back for the East Carolina game, and that will become next week at this time one that we get full discussion on, because it will be a massive game. South Carolina can simply not go up to Greenville and lose to East Carolina.
Tyler Ringwood was a receiver for Eastern Illinois in week 1 who had 5 catches for 116 yards. The most impressive statistically for Eastern Illinois coming into this game, and will be a guy that I am looking at, because to me, besides the quarterback position, the corner position, the safety position, defensive back for the Gamecocks, the biggest question mark going into this season. And when you have a guy who produced like that in game number 1, how will the Gamecocks game plan for him, and how will they execute with him, with just unproven guys across the back end on the defensive side of the ball? But it is relative for sure. And Eastern Illinois really struggled. One game last spring season in the FCS, one game before that in its last full season in 2019 on the FCS level. Why the spread's at 43.5? I don't know if it moved from yesterday from the Action Sports Network. A lot of books probably not even putting a spread since they're an FCS team. But that's where that conversation is right now. Kind of trying to put it in perspective. Bill and I have already said that we expect Shane Beamer to name Zeb Nolan as his starting quarterback for game number 1. Patrick, you haven't weighed in, I don't think, officially on that yet. Are you with us, or are you going to go Jason Brown? You're going to go with a question mark from today moving forward? You're going to go with the or? Is that where you went earlier?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an or. I think he's basically, I would say, predict that he'll probably say both guys are going to play. We haven't decided which one's going to strut out there first, but both guys are going to play. And then maybe on Thursday he'll say Jason Brown's going to take the first drive.
Just because we don't know Shane Beamer as a head coach, we don't know some of the little things that he'll do in the future as far as being a head coach. Does it not change your opinion? But if he comes out today and announces a starter and says either one, that's our guy and we're going with him, does it give you insight into Shane Beamer running his program? Does it tell you anything? Does it matter? Does it, like, I'm just, there's so many little things about Shane Beamer as a head coach. And again, I think this is why we get back to the number being 3.5, because nobody knows what to expect from Shane Beamer as a head coach. You go back to, I think it was Carolina Calls last Thursday night. We played it on Friday morning, where he talked about
it tells us that
bouncing back
he's not
and forth
dealing with
as to
unnecessary
which
drama.
he'd be listening in on.
He's the one who controls this, right? He specifically, uniquely, that all you got to do is put a name out there, and then texters like Larry or others out there, whether they be Gamecock fans, Clemson fans, whatever, who want to get more than it needs to be, just say, oh, this is our guy. Here are the reasons why. And the other guy's going to play as well. And it's our season opener. It's an important game. Got to play well. These guys have earned playing time for these reasons. As opposed to Will Muschamp, who is holding all his cards as long as possible going into game number 1 of his Carolina career with Perry Orth or Brandon McElwain at that point, ends up running Orth out there. McElwain plays. It was Vanderbilt on the road in an SEC game, a little different for sure. But it was, I mean, I feel like Will Muschamp will go down as the ultimate us versus them guy. We keep it in the locker room. Everybody else is on the outside, which can work very well, obviously, in the Nick Saban world, but also can alienate a fan base very quickly if things don't go well. And we saw that, especially towards the end. I don't think – now, Shea Beamer very well might come into his press conference today and say, hey, guys, we don't know. It's close. It's Jason Brown or Zeb Nolan. And we still don't know what Luke Doty is. And one of those 3 guys is going to run out there starting quarterback. But honestly, right now, I don't know who it's going to be. That could be very well where he is at right now with the quarterback situation. And to me, that's not necessarily continuing the drama. That's just kind of showing your cards and saying, hey, man, we really don't know. So I don't know how he's going to handle it today, but I do know it will be different than the previous regime and will be, I think, Shane Beamer being authentically himself, like he's talked about, one of the strengths of his vision for this program moving forward and one of the principles that you feel like he's kind of basing the program off. What about you, Ben? What do you think?
I mean, again, I don't know if I have an opinion one way or the other. I just find it interesting because we're still trying to learn Shane Beamer as a head coach and just some of the small things he'll do that you become accustomed to. So when he says it or when you expect something that you know what exactly is going to happen. And again, there is a transparency that I don't think we had under the previous coach that I think everybody's wanting now. And so if Shane Beamer wants to come out today and say, hey, yep, we've narrowed, we know who we're going with. Luke Doty will not play this weekend, or he's the emergency quarterback. Zeb Nolan or Jason Brown's our guy, and we're going to give him the ball, and it's his game to go and win. And hopefully we play everybody, but until proven otherwise, this is how we're going to go. So I think that's a sign of, well, and I shouldn't say a sign of honesty because we've already seen it from Shane Beamer when he basically comes out after the first practice that Luke Doty's out and says, let me just put to bed all the message board rumors or anything that's out there. Yes, DeCarrion Joyner has been taking snaps. That's what's been happening, and he has some he has some plays there at quarterback, and we could very well take care of that. So to me, that's just a sign of honesty, which I know sounds crazy, but out of the last 5 years, you feel like you're a little bit more. I think as a fan, you feel like you're a little bit more a part of the program.
And let's be real here as well. It's an easier situation going to an Eastern Illinois game than it would be against a different opponent and a different situation. But how it gets handled will be interesting. The question was from Chad on the YouTube live stream, what are the chances we get a glimpse of Colton Gauthier this weekend? I'd say if he's going to play in the 2021 season, his best chance by far is this Saturday. You guys think we'll see Colton Gauthier on the field for the Gamecocks? Yeah. I guess 1 through 10. Where's your confidence level with that? I'd say mine's at a 9.
Yeah, 9.5.
Bill, you?
I mean, if you're believing in that big point spread, you hope so. Yeah, I mean, you want to see him this week. I think, what was it yesterday? I asked you guys. I put over under of I think I said 4.5. Maybe I should go 3.5. Do you get all 4 quarterbacks, not counting Dak Joyner, because I don't know why you'd play him this week. You better hold that to East Carolina. There's no reason to do that this weekend, unless you're just showing it to make East Carolina prepare for it. I guess you could go the other way for that as well. But 4 quarterbacks, right? That's what the 4 quarterbacks. If Connor Jordan gets out there, you feel great about this game. That means you've won. You've won it so convincingly that you felt comfortable playing all 4 quarterbacks.
Well, I'll go the other way, Bill. If South Carolina doesn't play all 4 quarterbacks in this game, I think it's a failure of a game. Like it's not what you're looking for with a 43.5 point spread going into a season opener where none of your quarterbacks have any experience in their uniforms. None of them. Seb Nolan, Jason Brown, Colton Gauthier, Connor Jordan. None of them have taken a snap for Carolina. I'm not missing on this, am I? You guys are with me?
No.
Just saying it out loud like this, it's hard to wrap my brain around going into game number 1 and knowing that your really experienced guy that is by far your starting quarterback only has 2.5 games of experience. That's where the quarterback situation is. So you need to change that real quick. Best way to do it, in my opinion, would be get everybody on the field and do it in the way that you need to do it with the game in hand. When you get number 2, 3, and 4 in there, or maybe 3 and 4, if we hear today that the coaching staff feels like Nolan and Brown are really close in this competition. And this is all with the idea that we don't think Luke Doty is going to be 100%, so we don't think he'll be out there. We're all in agreement on that to this point, totally based off of speculation and obviously not having any inside information. You guys with me on that, Bill?
Yeah, I don't see a reason to play Luke Doty this week. I mean, honestly, they should be able to just turn around and hand the ball off and win. It might not be attractive. We might all be grumbling about it late Saturday night and on Monday about how bad they look and how there's no passing game and it's a very vanilla offense. And that Marcus Satterfield, this could be a very bad, like there could be a whole bunch of complaints on Saturday. I don't think it really cares. You get your guys out there, get them some snaps. Certainly you'd like to see a passing game. I'm trying to think who the texter was last week, Tim, that was saying like, well, you just go out and throw it all over the field. Well, I understand that. I do agree to some extent with that, but you also do what you have to do early on to win, to put yourself in a position. The worst thing that can happen is this game is 3-0 or 7-0. South Carolina leads midway through the second quarter, right? And fans are getting anxious, and all of a sudden the players themselves are having flashbacks to the last few years, and all kinds of things start to creep in. Doubt starts to creep in. You don't want that. You need this team to come out, play off emotion of 65,000 fans that'll be there, play off the emotion of 2001 in Sandstorm, play off of everything, and move forward, right? Like get out to a lead early, 2 touchdowns quickly, 3 or a touchdown, a 3 and out. I'll ask you guys this: do you take the ball if you win the snap?
You always are a fan of that one. To me, that is a pretty easy call that you defer here. You get your defense on the field. I think that's the stronger side of the football going into this thing, with at least a fewer question marks, maybe, or just from a physical standpoint. I would get the juiced up crowd on the defensive side of the ball and say, Eastern Illinois, good luck with this. And then you get the ball in the second half as well. That's how I see it. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I could go either way. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think it's just as cool to just say, yeah, we're going to take the ball and then score on the first play.
True. What about you, Bill? Where do you think they'll go? Because wasn't it the Coastal Carolina opener where South Carolina took the ball and just marched right down the field? And this was several years ago, but that game was over real quick, exactly how it should have been at that time with the physically dominant Gamecock program over Coastal Carolina at that point.
Yeah, I mean, there is an element. You hope you don't have to worry about the end of the first half, start of the second half transition there, maybe getting the back-to-back possessions. I think I'm kind of with Patrick. I think the excitement, the only thing is this should be a very run-oriented first 2 series with Marshawn Lloyd, I would assume. The other interesting thing is we'll probably hear today if Kevin Harris will be able to play.
Right.
But I'm guessing you'll get Marshawn Lloyd, and I think the excitement to see him. I do wonder if there's an element of saying, all right, let's temper the excitement a little bit and let the defense go out there first. And like you said, let the energy build on this team. But I think it's all, again, you get out early. Do not in any way, shape, or form like let this game get towards the end of the first quarter and be close. There's too many players here, I think, with bad memories of the last few years.
To me, I think players have short memories, and especially with a new coaching staff, I don't think that's gonna be in the back of the mind, unless maybe you get to the second half and it's a close game or something like that. It's a crazy week, man. You guys are pointing it out right now. Ted just hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Got to be the first time in history a 40-point favorite radio host has asked if we should take the ball first. But Chad points out, not only are you favored by more than 40 points, but you're favored by more than 40 points as a team that's only expected to win 3.5 games in the whole season, according to Vegas. It's just a crazy time for sure. And Jamie hit us up and asked if there will be any sort of proof of vaccination to get into the Williams-Brice Stadium. South Carolina did put out an updated press release on Friday about their stadium COVID protocols. That was not in there. And face covering strongly encouraged for all indoor and enclosed areas of the stadium. There will be the water bottle stipulation from last year where you can bring in an empty water bottle. And I think there will only be there would be no cash taken. And I never heard about this. Has ever heard of a reverse ATM? Apparently that's what they're going to have in the stadium. If you have cash, you can put cash in that reverse ATM and they will give you a card so you can pay with the cashless system they got going as well. Those are some of the considerations being taken for game number 1 here. And again, no proof of vaccination required at this point. Like I think there are just 3 or 4, maybe a handful of stadiums around the country in football going into week number 1. Right now, of course, these are always subject to change, I think, but the latest update put out last Friday by the University of South Carolina, 8 days ahead of game time.
I'll just go back to the Cool Care Heating Air text line. Ted's comment about asking about taking the ball first. I find this game, even though it's a 43-point spread in the opponent. Tim, you and I have followed South Carolina football now, and I mean I've really followed it since '92. 92 was the year, I guess, it really when I was there in the stadium and South Carolina beat Tennessee and Hank Campbell had the big stop and everything. So going on 30 years. I don't know. Look, I'm not going to lie and say that I am as excited for Saturday night as I was for Steve Spurrier's opener against Central Florida. Steve Spurrier, we all knew, was one of the greatest winners of all time. And to see him taking over South Carolina, that was an unreal level of excitement that I simply can't explain. And everything that was going into that, and the hopes and dreams of, hey, this guy who just crushed us each and every year is running our program now. That's incredible. But the level of uncertainty, I mean, it is kind of funny you mentioned it. I hadn't thought about what you said. The 4 guys who we expected to play quarterback, not Luke Doty being out, have never thrown a pass for South Carolina.
Never taken a snap.
Never taken a snap. Yeah, it's a good point. You know, never taken a snap. Never taken a snap. Shane Beamer's first game as a head coach. We don't know much about the offensive coordinator. We know very little about the defensive coordinator. I don't know if I've ever been to a South Carolina game or situation like this, and maybe people can remember further back, where so little was known about the coaching staff, about what the team may. I mean, even the guy who we think will probably be the starting running back was a highly, highly thought of recruit. We've never seen him take a carry, a snap in a Carolina game. It's just a lot of little things like that I find all very interesting and very exciting for Saturday night, even though you're hopeful that it has become one of the most boring games you've ever watched by the middle of the third quarter.
And that I feel like we heard this going into that Charleston Southern game a couple of years ago. Matt on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, y'all, we've been watching Gamecock football all these years. Haven't we learned that this game will be closer than Vegas thinks? Yeah, 43.5. That's a lot of points for sure.
It can be closer, but it should still be a 35-point deficit.
Eastern
Illinois is so bad.
6,100 if you want to get in on the program. 404-6100. We got to get back into our SEC teams, over and unders, season total. We got 4 left, and they're 4 really good teams. 2 in the East in Georgia and Florida, 2 in the West in LSU and Texas A&M. We'll do that when we come back. It's the early game, 175.
Oh, it's the end of August, the month of September. Am I the only one that occasionally feels like September is actually hotter than June? That it just feels generally hotter in June? And if that's the case, that means you better go ahead and make sure AAA Heating and Air come out and do one final inspection of your air conditioning unit, or making sure it's working. And if your air conditioning unit is working fine, you know what? Don't be the last to start checking on getting your heating unit investigated, because winter, it's around the corner. It's coming, as they used to say in some television show. You want to make sure that your heating and air unit is always functioning properly. And with AAA Heating and Air, they will make sure that's exactly what's happening. So if you need a repair, if you need somebody to come just do a small investigation, check into it. AAA Heating and Air is your family-run business to call. 803-677-1500. Not all the time do you need your heating and air unit replaced, but if you do, AAA Heating and Air, they're going to make sure that you're taken care of and they don't break the bank doing it. They'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. They'll work with you. No money down, no percent financing on a brand new unit. And then they'll offer you a 15-year parts and labor warranty. Again, the summer's wrapping up. I get it. Your air conditioning unit might not be as worried about that, but your heating unit, you better make sure that that thing is working properly. Don't waste another day. Call AAA Heating and Air today, 803-677-1500. Get them out there to do a quick inspection. Make sure everything's running properly. When you do it, tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Does that help any? Does that block the sun a little bit? Let's see here.
All right, Patrick, you want to start? Let's start with Florida this segment.
We're going to have to go fast through the good teams.
But what's their number? 9.5? 10.5?
9.5.
9.5?
Yeah.
All right. How about LSU?
8.5.
8.5? And Georgia?
10.5.
10.5? A&M, I imagine, is also 10.5?
9.5.
Ooh. You see where I'm going to go with that. Right. Have some visual accompaniment there. Bill is more of a Nelly guy than the 90s hip hop. That's what leads your 90s hip hop list, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. I got that right here on my phone.
I'm more of a Snoop and Dr. Dre guy. Start my 90s hip hop playlist.
Well, yeah, hip hop and rap, right? That's different. Like you would say that, because I've got 90s, my Amazon playlist music. So I have a 90s chill, which is Dave Matthews, Hootie and the Blowfish. Did you hear a
I think I did.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Tom Petty, Counting Crows, REM, well, that's not really chill, but The Offspring, Nirvana, Weezer, Green Day. So that's the 90s chill. Then the 90s rap, Tupac. I got a Little Kim. I got a PD Pablo, a Mystical, DMX, Warren G, Next, Blackstreet, Drew Hill, Wu-Tang, More Tupac. Biggie. Little Dr. Dre. There's some Eminem in there. Shaggy. Usher. There you go.
Yeah, Jen, what do you got on the top of your hip-hop list? I'm guessing 0.
Yeah, not so much. Mm-mm.
You would hope might be the same there.
Yeah, I got a little Jay-Z in here. The hip-hop playlist and the chill playlist is entirely different. I got a bunch. I need to do something with my playlist here because I got a 2000s rap. I got my 5 points edition. 5 points outside music. Neil Diamond, Hank Williams Jr., Rod Stewart, Steve Earle, Van Morrison, Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Garth Brooks, Journey, Bruce Springsteen. That's more the outside music that I can play when the neighbors are around.
Yeah, see that's me. I have a sprinkling of I think everything, from 70s to current day, all genres. I can go Queensryche, I can go Def Leppard, I can go Queen, but I can also Alanis Morissette. But then I like some of the syrupy songs too that you wouldn't expect me to like.
I've gotten into what's the guy that
Santana? Ugh, love Santana.
Charlie. He's coming to town. Not Charlie. Is it Charlie Crockett?
Charlie Daniels?
No, this is a new guy. Charlie Crockett. Have y'all ever heard Charlie Crockett?
No.
Nope.
You need to listen to Charlie Crockett. Anyway. Charlie Crockett's really good. He's actually coming to town. He's kind of one of the new age. He's kind of like let's see here. See if you can hear this. We got time.
Can't do that.
Shoot me now.
Trust me, he's not a big time artist yet.
He won't make my playlist.
He'll appreciate us promoting a little bit.
That is Charlie Crockett Davies' son.
Not to my knowledge.
Music.
Kanye's new album came out yesterday.
Yee? You saw where he legally submitted his name to be changed to Yee.
Yeah.
Is that a Prince deal where it's all about making money off your copyrighted name or whatever?
Yeah, I reckon. Outkast. Somebody asked about Outkast. I think Outkast was more of a, to me, Outkast, even though they started in the mid '90s and were really good. I got into Outkast more in college in 2000. And I don't know what you guys' problem with Dave Matthews is. Dave Matthews in my high school years was strong.
Just kind of like a Rascal Flatts for me. Just all kind of sounds the same, or I don't know. Just doesn't do anything for me.
Mid '90s Dave Matthews was strong.
A lot of Dave Matthews haters out there, Bill. Same with Hootie.
I like Hootie. Like I learned when I moved down here, I learned about Mother's Finest.
All right, Patrick. Florida, you good to start there?
Yep.
Okay, that's right.
Game week. College football's here. 2 days away, kicking off Thursday night, and then on Saturday, the full slate of games. Carolina, a huge favorite in Shane Beamer's season opener, career opener as a head coach against Eastern Illinois. But who will be a starting quarterback for that ball game? We still don't know. We'll have that question maybe answered or at least addressed this afternoon. 1:15 weekly press conference time on Tuesday for Shane Beamer moving forward. We'll have it for you live right here on 107.5 The Game. We're into our season total wins, over and unders for all 14 SEC programs. All of us, all three of us, Patrick, Bill, and I, have all gone over the 3.5 Vegas over-under for the Gamecocks, and we think it's pretty much a no-brainer. East Carolina, Troy, Eastern Illinois, and Vandy are the way that we look at that. And then you have some games that you would like to win, probably will be underdogs against with Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn. You could throw in there, I think, at this point. Florida is not one of those games. Bill, I know you have not been high on Florida in years past. They're ranked 13th in the preseason polls, or right around there, maybe 12th in the other one. And the over-under this year for Florida going in from a season win standpoint right now, 9.5. Bill, why don't you start us off on how you're seeing Florida over/under 9.5 on the season?
I'm gonna take the under. I've got them at least losing to Alabama on the road at LSU, and I've got them losing to Georgia. That right there just puts them at 9. So they would have to pull one of those upsets. I think there'll be underdogs in all 3 of those. The fact that the game's at LSU, I'll go with LSU. But so I'll go under. The rest, I mean, it's hard to say that they don't win 9 games. Florida Atlantic and South Florida, they should be 2-0 and close to the top 10 when Alabama comes in for that CBS game. Tennessee's in the swamp. Kentucky, I don't know. I don't know, but I'll go. Florida probably wins at Vanderbilt. Then they got that back-to-back stretch. They do get a bye week in between, but the trip to LSU, the bye week, and then Georgia, the visit to South Carolina, Sanford, at Missouri, I think it's a little tricky, in Florida State. It wouldn't shock me, given that they got to go to both Kentucky and Missouri, if they drop one of those. But it's hard for me to get past the Alabama, the LSU, and the Georgia game to get them over that 9.5 win threshold.
And from the Gamecock standpoint, they get Florida at LSU bye week, then Georgia at home seems to be a pretty favorable draw timing-wise for the Gamecocks against Florida. Patrick, the Bills going under 9.5 for Florida this year. What about you?
Yeah, it's an easy under for me. I think they'll automatically lose to Alabama and Georgia. LSU on the road, I think that's a loser. And, I mean, I think Florida's a good team. I think their defense will be better, but their offense won't even be close. Losing Kyle Pitts is just such a big blow. Kadarius Toney was so dynamic. They'll have good receivers. They always do. They find somebody to contribute. Their running back room doesn't impress me at all. And I think Florida is closer to Missouri than they are to Georgia. I think that Missouri game in Columbia, Missouri, they have a better chance of losing that one than they do of beating Georgia. So 9.5, I feel pretty comfortable with the under there.
I'll throw Kentucky in that group as well. I think Florida more similar to Kentucky and Missouri than they are to Georgia. So we're all in agreement here. We're all going the under on that one, 9.5. The big question mark is, I think Emory Jones has to be one of the best players in the country to make Florida one of the best teams in the country. He's got the potential to be that guy, but I think it's going to take a lot for us to see him as that guy, for him to become that guy. Kyle Trask became that guy under Dan Mullen, so I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility by any chance, by any stretch of the imagination. But to me, it's going to take him to be that guy for Florida to win double-digit games. I'm not betting on it right now. I'm going under as well. Let's go over to the West. Texas A&M, dark horse national championship contender, you could say. You could say they kind of got on. They were unfortunate last year being left out of the college football playoff. They're also at 9.5. Bill, how you see A&M this year?
Yeah, I'm buying the even with the new starting quarterback and Haynes King. I'm gonna side with Texas A&M that they were really good this year. Again, Kent State and at Colorado, New Mexico to start the season. They'll be 3-0. Arkansas in Arlington will be interesting, but they should be 4-0. Mississippi State 5-0, and then there comes Alabama into College Station on October the 9th. That's kind of the big one. They'll follow that up. Actually, you look at Texas A&M's schedule. Not that I would say, you just mentioned that you get Florida in kind of a good spot if you're South Carolina. If you get Florida after the Georgia game, South Carolina should still likely be a double-digit underdog. But at least if you're South Carolina, if you point to one positive thing here, you get Texas A&M at the end of 7 straight games. I think South Carolina will be right there with them. I think both Texas A&M and South Carolina play each other, though, at the end of 7 straight games. Both teams get a bye week on October 30th. But then after the South Carolina game, Auburn at Ole Miss, Prairie View at LSU. You mentioned 9.5. I think that they could potentially lose 2, Alabama, and then maybe at Ole Miss or at LSU. It'd be a very disappointing season if Texas A&M went 9-3 with losses to Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU. So I'll take the over of 9.5.
Patrick, what about you?
I really logically think it's they're probably going to win 10 games because I look at I think they will win 10 games. They'll lose to Alabama and they'll split those road games at LSU and Ole Miss. But I just don't trust them. I think they'll probably drop one more. They'll screw up 1 week. Something will happen. They've got a new quarterback. Kellen Mond was there for 4 years. I think maybe played every game for them, started every game of those 4 years. I don't ever recall him missing a game, but that continuity was important for them. They're super talented. That defense is going to be really good. DeMarvin Leal is one of the best defensive linemen in the country, but I just can't trust them until they prove that they can beat everyone they're supposed to beat. I'm going to say they're going to go under.
Wow. Didn't they do that last year? They didn't prove that to you last year?
I mean, they got smoked by Alabama. I mean, if they won't be legit, I mean,
beat them.
There's also a level to it. Like, I'm not buying them as a national championship contender yet. If they go over 9.5, they're going to be a national championship contender. I can't. I think they'll still get smoked by Alabama. I think LSU is going to beat them. That game's in Baton Rouge, and I don't know about Ole Miss. I think they're closer to Ole Miss than they are Alabama for sure.
I don't disagree with you there, but what they showed me last year that Jimbo Fisher has this program. Maybe not exactly where he wants it, but real close. And if this is at 10.5, I'm with you. I think it goes 10-2. I'm going to go over 9.5 here. I'm not saying that I trust them completely. I get where you're coming back, especially with the quarterback situation, but I didn't trust Kellen Mond. And for him to do what he did last year, I don't think they're going to have a drop-off. I think they might have an improved quarterback situation, at least in big games. That Alabama game was massively disappointment, but their win over Florida at home and how they didn't drop a game they shouldn't drop last year, that's convinced me that Jimbo Fisher and company have that program where they want to. I still don't think they're going to beat Alabama, don't get me wrong. But I think they're going to be about what they were last year, which is pretty dang good enough to get the over on 9.5. So we split there. Bill, you and I are over. Patrick is under on Texas A&M. Let's stay in the West and go LSU at 8.5. Patrick, you said this is maybe the most interesting team for you right now, and with Ed Orgeron and what they've been the last couple of years, the national championship, and then last year a 500 team, I can see why.
I think LSU has the highest variance in the country from what they could be. I think they could be a top 10 team at the end of the season, fighting for a national championship berth. Like, they have that kind of talent. They've struggled the last couple of years because when you lose 17 guys or whatever it was, the NFL draft in one season, have one of the most talented teams ever, it's going to take a year to reload and rebuild. I think they're just stacked right now. Their offensive line is one of the most experienced in the country, and their defense is just so strong. I think they're going to easily go over 8.5. I look at their schedule and I see 6-0 right off the bat. UCLA, McNeese State, Central Michigan, at Mississippi State. They will smoke as a revenge game for opening week last year. Auburn and Kentucky, and then it'll get interesting when Florida comes to Baton Rouge. I think when you go 6-0, you got to get 3 out of your last 2 from 6. That's easy money for them.
I'm not even confident in LSU. I think I have the confidence level in that program right now that you have in Texas A&M, saying that you think they're going to drop one they shouldn't drop. I'm not confident in them against UCLA. I know it was just Hawaii, and UCLA has some issues, but especially in the season opener, I mean, what we saw, that drop-off last year, alarming. So I'm going to go under on this thing, Bill. What about you?
I've got them at 9 wins. I'm with Patrick. They start 6-0. I'm going to kind of do a game by the one time I'll do a game by game, I guess outside of South Carolina, game by game prediction. But 6-0 going into Florida, and then I can see them beating Florida. But here's the thing: look at the schedule. October 16th against Florida, at Ole Miss. After that game, I think it's a bad spot for LSU. That Florida game, they'll be jazzed up for. Then you go to Ole Miss. That's going to be difficult. You get that bye week, October 30th, and you come back for Alabama. So even though there's a bye week in there, Mississippi sandwiched around Florida and at Alabama. It wouldn't surprise me to see them beat Florida at all, be 7-0, and us be talking about them. And then LSU drops 3 out of their final 5: Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas A&M to finish 9-3. I'll take the over because that Mississippi game, if they win that, I think that puts them in line to get to 10 wins. But so 8.5, I've got them going over. But yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me to see them start out red hot, but drop 3 of their final 5 to finish 9-3 and still make Ed Orgeron's seat quite toasty.
See, I got those 3 losses automatics right now: Florida, Alabama, and Texas A&M. And I got to think they drop one more.
So you and I are doing the swing game. I think they get Florida in Baton Rouge, but I think the build up to that, and then the following week against Mississippi's too much. I've got them right now beating Florida, but losing to Mississippi. That offensive Lane Kiffin gets geared up for that game. And Patrick's right. Derek Stingley's back. Their defensive line should be pretty good.
I think they're the third most talented team in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, they're good. Ed Orgeron, new coordinators. It's similar. If Ed Orgeron, if this was Ed Orgeron's first year, it might be a lot very similar, just in terms of question marks to not in terms of talent, but in terms of coaching to Shane Beamer's staff.
803-404-6100. If you'd like to get a final word in, we have one final team to do our season total over/under on in the SEC. That's Georgia. We'll do it when we come back in the dramatic conclusion of today's program as well. It's the early game on 175.
Your 24/7 sports station. I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty good. 107.5 The Game.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true.
Oh.
Jeff says the Gamecocks will beat the Gators this year. Jay from the Interstate. If Carolina wins by 50 but only throws for 100 yards and runs for 4, be nervous. I think fans are going to be nervous no matter what the outcome is in Eastern Illinois. And they should be.
I think it's a week. Until we see the first 2 games, it's over. I don't think you ever really know what to expect. Too many unknowns.
What's for breakfast there, Patrick? Perry hooked you up?
No, I'm caught up with cantaloupe.
Strong start. Oh, yet another hot take over there, another face.
Cantaloupe, blue cheese. Nope, can't do them.
I do love cantaloupe.
Is cantaloupe a southern thing?
No, I think it's
Do
up north.
Northerners eat a lot of cantaloupe? Is that I feel like cantaloupe is a southern thing. Am I wrong on that?
Yes, you're wrong. Everyone eats cantaloupe.
Yeah, my dad, like my dad's family, they sold, like they grew and sold cantaloupe.
Really?
I think honeydew might be more of the southern thing. Nope. You got the honeydew, Jen? Patrick?
We eat honeydew, yeah. They're cantaloupe always comes together with honeydew.
So the melon is not necessarily southern.
I mean,
more watermelon?
I'm sure more of these fruits are grown in the South because of the climate,
right.
But everyone eats them. I mean, oranges are a Florida thing, but everyone eats oranges.
Trey, how dare you? I mean, we're all no dumber for that one. No, never done the salt on a cantaloupe, I don't think.
My dad did that. And I've seen salt on a watermelon too.
Yeah, definitely done that before. Whoa. Was that a microwave right there, Patrick? What's going on?
It's a fan.
Oh, is that at your house?
Yeah.
I was looking around here like, what just beat here?
Did we have a wardrobe change that I missed, Bill?
No.
You had a different sweatshirt on when you walked outside.
Nope.
He's stuck with the blue.
It's the blue Nike blue game Lexington. Yeah. No, I'm wearing this all morning.
Okay.
It's just one of those little zip up pullovers I wear. Kind of like little thin, real thin.
I think maybe when you were outside, like the sun hit or something, it might have looked like there was some white on. Okay.
No, you're incorrect again.
Yep. Standard.
Standard.
Word more about traffic.
Trey, if you haven't seen it yet, it's all over social media. I guess it was like some kind of school board or city board meeting.
Oh my gosh.
In the old the Simpsons names.
Yeah.
Sounds like it might be right up your alley there, Trey.
That was amazing. It's like, dude was not catching on at all.
No wardrobe malfunctions. No war. We've done good. What is it? Today's the last day of August, so March of last year, mid-March.
Yeah.
How many months is that now? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 full months. Almost 18 months, and I would say that we have thankfully none of us have had a wardrobe malfunction, right?
Put the big jinx on us, huh?
Right.
Potentially, yeah.
We have not had to blur anything out on the live video stream. That I know of.
Haven't had really any major issues of cussing, punching anybody out. So,
which one of us would punch somebody out?
Jen,
Patrick.
Jeez.
We are about to go back in.
All right. Yeah, no bans. Nobody's been banned off of YouTube. That's good. So we're doing good. Done good, everybody.
Means it's a boring show. We need to change that.
Well, all I tried to do was play music a minute ago, and I was being edited about as quick as you could. Just introduce y'all to Charlie Crockett.
Yeah, that's right.
if you like free stuff, we're trying to hook you up. This afternoon, the halftime show has a chance for you to win a 4-pack of tickets to the Southern 500 at Darlington this weekend. Race tickets, camping, and premium parking still all available at darlingtonraceway.com. Go there now if you would like to purchase your tickets or listen this afternoon if you want a chance to win them. Also, right now, get out your phone. Time to text 64636. That's what you text to. That number is 64636. The national keyword to win right now is talent. TALENT, otherwise known as what's not on this show. Talent. TALENT to 64636. That'll get you a chance to win a all-expense trip down to Miami and hopping on the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, a 5-day adventure to Grand Bahama Island filled with all kinds of live music, wrestling, comedy, autograph sessions, podcasts, and more. Again, that's talent, right? Text that to 64636 for your chance to win.
That's what Georgia's got.
What's that, Patrick?
TALENT. That's what Georgia's got in droves this year.
Oh, what a transition.
More than anyone in the country.
More than Alabama?
Wow. More than Alabama. The most talented, the best defense in the country, the most talented roster in the country. Will not be at 100% against Clemson, and they will lose that game, but they won't lose again.
Okay, so that's an overvote for Patrick on 10.5 for the season for Georgia. Bill, how do you see it, sir?
Yeah, I don't. That means they've got to lose. That means they've got to lose 2 more times. So even if you factor in some kind of slip up somewhere along the line, I mean, who would you guys go? I guess Florida. Florida's the next most likely. But out of the remaining games, who's the most likely slip up that would take them below 10?
No, Auburn? It's at Florida. That's all it is. Or not.
Right, so,
it's Jacksonville. It's cocktail party. That's literally it. But I don't even think they're going to be close.
It's those two games. So
I mean, you're going to make the argument that it's Kentucky or Missouri?
that's what I'm asking you. That's my point on their schedule. It really does.
Yeah, Auburn is the only anywhere it could be close.
And they get the bye week before the Florida game to go into that thing. So
George Pickens will be back this season as well.
I'll take the over.
I think I'm going to make it a boring pick. We'll all three go over on Georgia at 10.5. Maybe that's why we saved it for the last minute of the show. Not a ton of discussion there. It has been fun going through all 14 of the SEC programs. So, Patrick, you have it written down. You have the record. Make sure that you don't lose that thing, because the day after the regular season ends, headed into the SEC championship game, I guess 2 days after, on Monday, we will have a reckoning here and see who knew what we were talking about from SEC football. Oh, Bill, you also have the record there?
I got mine written down.
Just yours.
Of course.
Make sure you guys are coming up, making up some stuff.
1:15 this afternoon, Shane Beamer, live press conference here on 107.5 Game. Tune into that then. Dan Patrick Show coming up next. Thanks for listening to the early game.
Clear.
All right, nice work, kids. Let's see, any final comments here? Yeah, RL, Patrick's got Georgia in the college football playoff. I think you got to win the whole thing, don't you, this year?
Yep, they're going to come in as the 4 seed. Alabama will be undefeated. Georgia will beat them in the SEC championship, and then Georgia will win the national title from the 4 seed.
Yep. Terry, mostly Trey. Good call. He did most of the hard work this morning.
He does. Heavy lifting.
Now he gets his
You guys have a great day as well. Thanks for checking us out this morning. Tell all your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll put some beautiful screenshots up of Bill Gunter later on social media. We'll see if that works. Thanks, DC. See you guys in the morning.